Live on Thursday night with Pong and Mav, PM in the PM. That's right, everybody. Welcome back to another Thursday podcast. This is your home for all things gaming news. And this week has been blowing up left and right. My God, Grub has been at the center of a lot of news. So we're going to get into Grub's breakdowns. We got IGN, or not IGN, well, I should say IGN reporting about E3. E3 no longer being E3, really, now without Xbox included. We got a lot to get into. We got PSVR 2 sales not looking so good out of reports, and Sony claiming that, yes, they are. We got a bunch. We got Halo. It's the thumbnail says. Unreal Halo changes. Yeah. Another week, another topic that a lot of people in the community never wanted us talking about. So we are going to be covering a lot of different things tonight, but it's great to see everybody here chat. I hope you're all having a fantastic week up to this point. We made it through Hump Day. Age of Empires 2 is here, everybody. So, I mean, that's a celebration already. I know you're all super pumped, and Mav and I are going to obviously talk about that as well. But I hope you're all having a fantastic week. Hope everybody's in a good mood. Hope life is treating you all well, and thank you all for being here and joining us on February the 2nd, 2023. So let's get down to business. And we've got a gentleman who has been homebound for about 2 weeks now, going on 2 weeks. If he explains it, it sounds like he's been locked away for like 3 years, but it hasn't been quite that long. But this man has a little bit of cabin fever, folks, and he's got an ice skating rink outside of his home, which doesn't or isn't supposed to happen in Texas. Anyways, my main man, my brother from another, the one, the only, Fun Speculation, aka Mav, explain to the people how a living hell your life is right now. Right.
Well, you know, last week I was sick, and I was pretty damn sick, so I wasn't able to work, especially the kind of work I've been doing a lot lately, right? So, that was like, okay, fine, you know, a few days, whatever, you know. And then we got trapped, not by snow, but by ice, just pure blankets of ice. And it's been interesting, like 10 days or so, I'll say, just because I'm ready to get the hell out of here. Like I got to go to work. I'm supposed to go back to work tomorrow. We're going to see if it's going to refreeze tomorrow, because it's still raining out there right now. So it's, I don't know what's going to happen, but it's interesting. I managed to get to Walmart yesterday. Somehow I slid down the driveway. And this is the kind of ice when you like step in the grass, it doesn't even leave impressions, right? Like I'm a big dude, right? So walking through the grass, you would think you would leave some footprints, but no, this is just pure ice. And you don't walk through the grass, you slide through it. I had to actually, to make it to the car, I had to chunk out the ice with my heels of my boot. So that was interesting, but we made it to Walmart yesterday. I got a few groceries because we just needed some stuff in the house, right? And made it back. And I think most of the places are better now, right? So yeah. We're gonna try running out after the show tonight and get a couple more things. But yeah, I'm excited. I know. Yeah. Well, the good thing about it, if there's a positive, is I've been able to play a lot of games.
Yes, you have.
I've been playing a lot of games. I've been really deep diving back into Midnight Suns some more. I got a lot of progress done on that. And that game is so good. It is just, honestly, it is like a dream game come true after playing it for that long and stuff. And I'm excited for the new content coming to it and everything. And then also we got a new nice game that just dropped. Well, plus Hi-Fi Rush. I played that on stream for a few hours, but between Midnight Suns and this other game. Like my life is pretty much owned by those right now. And this other game is Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition that has made its way to
Hallelujah.
consoles.
Amen.
I had a stream the other day playing it on the day it came out. And wow, that 5.5 hours went by in like 20 minutes. Let me tell you. We've been playing with Jasper and Psycho. Played with you yesterday, and again we played for like 6 hours, dude, and it flew by like crazy.
Yep.
What a game. What a conversion to consoles. Like it is about as good as you could possibly imagine. I think, you know. And I'm super happy about it. RTS Glory is here on the Xbox Series X generation.
It's crazy how we talked about that so many times, Mav, about the controls, and that if you put a little bit of effort into it, that you can get RTSs to work. Again, they worked on the 360, so that is a line of BS. Again, Mav and I both played RTSs on the 360 before they even had good examples of button mapping, changes to the UI for RTSs to make them more accessible on consoles and use of controller. We played them on 360 and we did just fine. So this excuse that you can't do it is insane. But the good news is, Mav, with this one, it's another example that other companies can use on how to make it happen.
I will say this one is even better than those 360 iterations of other ones.
Yeah,
because Age is more in depth than like a Command and Conquer.
More complex.
You know, it's more in depth than like Battle for Middle Earth, even, which was a pretty deep game. But
yeah, it's similar, but yes, it is more in depth. Correct.
And I feel like Age was one game people kept saying they wouldn't be able to do it right. You know what I mean? But and it's all the people we battled on Twitter and stuff over this for a long time, saying that we have no right to ask for it to come to console. What are we thinking? You know? And this came out with maybe one of the best interpretations from game to console so far, possibly.
It's incredible, and it gives me hope for Total War, Mav. Because Total War is the other one everybody says it can't happen. I think this proves it differently, for sure. I think it proves that if you take a little bit of time, you can make it work. And Phil tweeted out that he's having a great time playing co-op campaign, which is always a good thing when Phil is happy with something like this, because we have a good chance of seeing more of it down the road. And if they are going to commit to this, and we see that Command and Conquer is coming as well, which is also another complex RTS. Maybe, just maybe, we get the king of all RTSs in Total War to come on over. But no matter what, the future is bright, right? And Age 2 is a prime example of what can be done. And my God, were we having a freaking awesome time just playing against the AI. Even that 4-on-4 AI stuff is incredible. Like, the maps, there's got to be there's got to be like 40, 50 maps, I think.
There's a ton of maps. There's a ton of factions. You know, there's there's a ton of everything, man. It's like so much content. It's 20 years of content bundled into this. And I'm equally excited for Age 4 to come out, and maybe even more. But to be honest with you, after playing Age 2, if that was it, I would have been like, okay, I'm pretty content with this because of how much is there. But no, for real, like Age 4, I think is going to live for a long time as well. And that's like a next step up even. But I can't wait for that too, man. It's going to be amazing.
It is. It really is. Yeah, we could just sit here and talk all night about Age. Mav and I discussed doing that because we were just, again, it's so much fun. I've been working single player because I do want to get into the competitive rank side. I do want to do some one-on-one stuff on the rank side, like I did get into with Halo Wars, and I've been trying to get my speed up and been actually focused in. I told you all I was watching videos and stuff, and I definitely felt ahead of the curve. But even somebody like Psycho jumping in, who really didn't look at anything and all that kind of stuff, when you're playing with other people, that's the nice part about RTS. When you're playing against AI, you kind of learn on the fly, and you can learn a lot just by going through it over and over and over again and trying out new builds. But just the different combinations that we had going last night, the difference, right? Yeah, we got crushed a couple times. We got a little cocky, got crushed. Playing on moderate level, which is not the normal level. We were playing one up from the normal level, so we did get crushed a couple times. But otherwise, the strategies work.
I'll say there was one match that we lost that was like our fault because we picked the map where there was like a million trees in between the two,
the huge forest.
And Psycho actually was like, "I'm going to build a wonder and see if we can win that way." We're like, "Hey, no, we don't want to win that way. Hey, no, we built these armies. We wanted to build the armies, so we finally made it the way of the trees after." We felt pressured to hurry because the enemy ended up doing a wonder, and we made it through finally with little time to spare through the forest, and all of our 3 built up amazing armies just got decimated within like 15 20 seconds. It seemed like, I mean, it was gone.
That was the only time too that we had slowdown map. Performance-wise, it's great, right?
Oh, yeah.
Performance-wise, it's really good, but 4-on-4, and we had 200 men armies between both armies and, of course, your workers. But so that's 800, and I think they were maxed out on the other side because that was like an hour and a half match. So the computer was maxed out. So that's like 1,600 different individual and group. I don't even say groups, but just actual individual either warriors or workers on within that one game, within that one map. That's the only time we had slowdown. And it was bad. I mean, we were talking about what, maybe 20 frames, maybe.
Right. Yeah.
So because it was all mass, there was so much. We had castles.
We had like
towers.
80 villagers probably trying to clear the trees in this one little area, right? I mean, it was insane. But that's the kind of stuff that only happens in Age.
Yeah, but then when we did the last one, Texas, when we did the Texas map and we had water, didn't see a whole lot of slowdown, and Jasper had like 200 samurai warriors attacking a castle while I had my elite Spanish galleons because I wanted to try ships for once. So worked out perfectly. I cruised the coastline. Mav was getting attacked the entire time. Mav was holding off one team. Jasper and I were taking on 2 teams. He was on the ground. I was in the water. It worked out perfectly, and Psycho was doing something. Psycho was trading or something. I don't know what he was doing.
I finally got it in, like after our standoff, after y'all started attacking. The standoff was finally over, so I was able to get my elephants in there. So we had
you had
200 samurai. Too, right? I had the war elephants, and you had your ships.
Yep, the Spanish galleons.
It's so good.
So much fun. It's so good. It's so
4-on-4 is amazing. Honestly,
it is. It is.
So we got to figure out what Psycho's doing over there, though.
I know.
Like, I feel like he's the secret to our success, but I don't. For a weird reason, I don't know why.
You know what? He was actually causing chaos, I think, with one of these.
Games.
I think that's what he was doing.
Yeah, just like the randomness of his actions just confuses the computer.
Yes.
Right.
I think that's what it was at the time. Oh man, I don't know, Steel. It was a lot of things on the screen all at one time, brother. And these aren't like the classic Age 2 graphics. If you're thinking like this is like the classic Age 2, no. These graphics have been bumped up. Like they have particle effects and stuff.
I mean, Vampire Survivors almost crashed my Series X before. Also,
that's true.
You know what I mean?
That's
like,
true too. That's true.
Once you get that much craziness, RTS games have always had this on consoles. When you get the armies built up to max, and I feel like if you have one army versus another, it's not going to happen. But this only happened when we had 4-on-4, fully loaded out everything.
And we had giant castles and giant walls everywhere. We had
it was insane.
We had so much going on.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So no, it was a great time. And like you said, the 6 hours flew by. I think you and I have almost the exact same amount of time in this game. Because I had 5 hours, I think, playing single player, practicing, and then 6 hours yesterday. And I think that's exactly where you were too. But can't say enough good things about this. This is again, it's scored an 87. I think it's sitting at right now. So the reviewers loved it. All the reviews I read said they nailed the controller. That's why I was so excited when it was dropping, because I was like, all right, because that's the only thing that can derail an RTS on console is if they don't nail the controls. If the controls aren't responsive or intuitive, or you feel like you're fighting against them, it's not going to work in an RTS. And yes, there's a lot to learn. I haven't even gotten to the advanced side of things. There's a whole advanced side, controller side of things where you can group, certain different troops together, all that kind of. I haven't even done that yet. I'm just getting used to the basics. But after playing with it, you certainly can get an army built. You can get your workers going, and it works really well. So
The campaign
really
does a
happy.
pretty damn good job at like guiding you through those
Does.
controls too.
Yep. And there's a whole Sun Tzu. They've got a Sun Tzu section with challenges that will actually teach you some high level strategies. That's what I told Psychonauts to go check out because you get graded on your speed. And this is like pro level type strategies. This is what the pros use, like Hera and those guys out there that do Age of Empires professionally. It teaches you some of that. So there's a lot here. And again, I've got the DLC. So like I even have more different civs than everybody else. It's stupid. There's so many of them, but it's fun. It's absolutely a blast. I'm so happy it's here. That all you've been playing? Midnight Suns, Age, and some
Warzone here and there. And
and
then I did play high. I haven't gone back to Hi-Fi Rush, not because I wasn't loving it or having a blast. I just got sidetracked. I'm just trying to like finish Midnight Suns, but also I don't want to rush it. You know what I mean? It's just it's too good, right? So that's most of where my time went, besides since Age 2 came out, for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I jumped back into Midnight Suns 2 as well. Started back on my crack cocaine right before Age dropped. Got back in the addiction train. It's amazing. I mean, I took a month off, I think. I stopped at the end of December and went and did all the other stuff and went back to it. Fell right back in love with it again. And again, I would like to just plow through it and finish it, but like you, I just can't. I love it so much that I like want to do the missions. Like I want to get better, figuring out my teams, getting my characters leveled up, getting their friendships up, which can, induces bonuses. It's just such an addicting loop. But I really want to get to I really want to get to Deadpool.
Yeah.
And see how he plays. So I really do kind of want to move forward. I'm finally getting to the part where you get Wolverine. So I've moved ahead a little bit, but this is after like 90 hours. So like this is, literally. So it's gonna be a slow process with Midnight Suns, but I'm happy to keep it downloaded. I'm happy to have it there and just pop it in and play for a few hours here and there when I can, because we got so many games coming out. But it was just so nice to turn it back on again. I jumped back in, remembered what I was doing, got right back into the flow again, and just was like, yeah, man, this is why I said this was my game of last year. It's so freaking awesome for a Marvel game. So I was happy to do that. And then what else? Did Midnight Suns, and I think that's about it. I tried Hi-Fi Rush, obviously, but as we talked last week, I got rid of it.
I found some footage of you trying to play that. I put it on Twitter.
I saw that. I retweeted it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Jerk is a perfect movie to explain
yes
how I am with rhythm. But I think that was pretty much it. I think I was playing Midnight Suns and then Age, and then like I said, Halo Wars 2, because I had that fully downloaded and it was kind of get back in the RTS mode again. And I was having a blast with that. I started taking on 2 AI at one time, 2v1, on this harder level, not the super hard level, but the harder level, and getting it down again where I could, get both of them within under an hour. I was defeating both. So that was cool. That I've been having a lot of fun with Halo Wars 2 again. But yeah, that's been about it, Mav. Not a whole lot else. So, but I just want to play Age. Seriously, that's all been on my mind all day. All day.
Maybe we can play some tonight if you got some time.
Yeah, I'll probably have some time tonight. We can probably hop into that and check it out. Man, what a week of news, Mav. What a week of news, brother. We are picking up like real quick here. Do you have do we have a sponsor tonight, Mav?
Manscaped.com still the sponsor of this channel. Shout out to Manscaped. Everybody, if you want to shave your beards as well,
they got a new beard trimmer.
There's a beard trimmer.
Fun Speculation.
Check out the code Fun Speculation for 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. Manscaped does now sell beard products. That's right. They're once again revolutionizing men's grooming with a brand new beard hedger. From a beard trim to a fresh shave, the technology behind the beard hedger allows you to shape your signature look Now you can finally use Manscaped products to make your drapes match your carpet by going to manscaped.com and using code FUNSPECULATION for 20% off and free shipping. That's right. Made for any length. Special feature for all my bald-faced boys out there. The hedger has a built-in advanced lift comb technology that allows for a smoother, complete shave. Plus, it's waterproof, everybody, so you can shave in the shower to avoid clogging your sinks and having to invest in Drano. That's for sure. So everybody, check out manscaped.com. Use the code FUNSPECULATION for 20% off and free shipping. Let's move on now.
Let's move on. Let's go. Nice. Manscaped.com. Let's go. All right. So let's hop in here real quick. First of all, I got to give a shout out to the 60 plus people already joining us. Thank you all for being here. And Harry Balzac, yes, sir, there's both news and rumors. But some of the rumors have been confirmed by multiple sources. So again, we found out plenty of times now where there's smoke, there's fire. But yes, we have both news and rumors this week. For sure. Talos Re, thanks for jumping in here. Nix is in the house. Wilfrey Rosario, what's going on? Tony Grasso. Tony Grasso's in here. RSJ fan, great to see you. Glad you're having fun on Diablo 3, by the way, RSJ. Who else we got in? We got the brother from another. Steel Rain, who just wants to believe that age just has optimization problems. Steel, I hope so. Because if they can patch it up and it can even run smoother at 404,
it is like
I'll be all for it.
Blistering smooth experience, yes. I have to say.
Outside of 404, yeah.
And outside of when you're, but that's been that's a problem with any RTS on any console, any platform.
Yeah, it has.
Any PC ever. I mean, once you get the mass armies built up like that, you're gonna have a little bit of slowdown, unfortunately.
Absolutely.
Unless you want to watch little dots run against the screen on the screen,
right.
And like back in the day, I had to trick my Command and Conquer game and put it in like low mode, right?
Oh, Jesus.
When my armies would get so built up, because I would always play like this. Like I never wanted to finish my skirmish. Like I would just keep building up, and my goal was to build on the entire map, right? Build like an army on the entire map, and how you'd accomplish it to keep from winning is you just trap one of their little ore trucks or something in a wall.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
So you just leave that alone. Make sure nobody attacks it, right? Build a nice defense around it. And then you got the whole map to yourself to build whatever you want. Love it, man.
Oh, my kid used to love to do that too. That's what he did Lord of the Rings. He would just try to build the biggest armies possible. So, Psychonauts, brother, what is going on? He says, slow and mathematical is how I roll. What kind of math are you doing, Psycho?
Slow and mathematical.
Yeah, blow and mathematical. Great to see you in here, though, Psycho, brother. And it was a blast. Marlesco is in the house. What's going on, Marlesco? Darth Praxis is in here. Darth. Charlie Hustle, what is going on? Caitlin, the beautiful Miss Caitlin, is showing up. Thank you for the thumbnail, as always. Looking great. And thank you for tweeting it out on top of Mav as well. Appreciate you. Other Zinc, what is going on, brother? Great to see you in here. Who else we got in here? We got Andrew Cullinane. We got Vik The CLiCK. We got Calorie. What's going on, Calorie? Who else we got in here? We got the Finite Rich. I like it. Finite Rich. Finite Rich. Finite. Not finite. Finite. Finite Rich. BigMADMoe is in here. What's going on, BigMADMoe? Great to have you joining us. Outbreak Gamers, of course. That's Dave, the one and only. Go check out his channel for some great community interviews. Fantastic ones over there. Go check that out. We got Jigga J is in the house. What's going on, Jigga? Great to see you, brother. Lore Master Jasper, the one and only, is in here. Polly Baba, what is going on, Polly? Fuzzy Belvedere. General Spartan 27. Black Card Day. What is going on, Black Card Day? Alvin is in here. What's going on, Alvin? Great to have you. Ghost Fixter is in the house. Oscar Emilio A. Gonzalez. Damn, that's a full name right there. Thank you for dropping on in here and saying hi. Appreciate you. Mitchie Dies a Lot is in here as well. What's going on, Mitchie? Who else did I miss? Did I miss anybody else? I think I got pretty much everybody that said hi at least. RazorNZ, of course, all the way from New Zealand. Showing up. Stuffed Sean. What's going on, Stuffed? Great to have you in here. Siki. Ed Enzo. What's going on? Man, what a great crew. As always, every Thursday night. Appreciate you all. Thank you. Again, if you can hit the like button. And if you have a moment and you could share it out on your favorite social media, that helps us immensely. Appreciate you in any way that you help us. So, but again, your presence here is much respected. So thank you all for joining us. All right, Mav, let's dive into some things here. Let's start with the E3 stuff. So obviously, E3 is back in person this year for the first time in a few years, and everybody's super excited in the community. I know a bunch of people have already lined up their trips. A bunch of people are planning on meeting. That's one of the best parts about these things. I've never had a chance to experience it myself, but I hear all the stories. I've seen the pictures from E3's past. It's incredible what goes on out there. I'd love to be able to make one of these years. But everyone's really excited, and obviously, Nintendo hasn't been a part of it for a long time. Sony, bowed out, some years ago as well, and it's been Xbox's show, along with your Ubisofts and your EAs and that kind of stuff for a while. And then the pandemic hit, and people wondered if E3 was ever going to come back again. And then they announced last year that they are coming back, and they're coming back in person. So everybody was super pumped, and obviously Xbox is a part of the ESA board. ESA is the ones that put on the E3 showcase. Phil's on that board, and Phil's always promoted E3 and always talked about how important it is to the community. You and I, Mav, we've talked about it. A little bit of different opinion on E3 and what it means and all that kind of stuff. We've had those discussions like last year when we talked about it. But overall, the general feeling is that the E3 is a moment that happens every year where gamers worldwide all are paying attention.
Yeah.
And, we have very few of those. Like the Video Game Awards has now become, the Keighley's, they've become one of the other times that gamers from all over are always watching. Like Tokyo Game Show has their viewers, but, again, all those are sparse compared to E3 and the Keighley's. So E3 is important for that reason. Back in the day, journalists got a full week of news all in one shot. And then when the pandemic hit, it became sporadic. And some people argued that it was terrible. Some journalists hated that. Like we had months of it, right? Some people within the community liked it. But the main point is that E3 has been something of a mecca to video gamers for a very long time. And then word came this week from IGN. They dropped this a few days ago and said exclusive. IGN has learned from multiple sources that PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo won't be a part of E3 2023. Again, we already figured I wanted Nintendo and PlayStation to come back, but most of us assumed they weren't going to be there. But Xbox is not going to be there. Grubb tweeted out and said Nintendo had diminished booth at E3 2019, and Xbox, while at the Microsoft Theater across the street, was still a part of E3 2019. Your E3 badge got you into the Xbox event. So this is a pretty big change. And we had seen Keighley, come out, I think it was a day prior to that, Mav, saying that Xbox confirmed that they're going to be at Summer Games Fest. So it sounds like, Mav, Xbox is going to have their showcase around E3 time. Phil came out in that interview and said it's still important to us. We still are coordinating our event with the ESA, with E3. We're in that space. We understand that people love to be in LA during that time for E3, and we want to be there. So they're going to have their event, but your E3 badge isn't going to get you into the Xbox event. It's going to be separate. Now, I've heard some things that I think somebody said it was going to be the week prior. The weekend prior is when Xbox is going to hold theirs to actual E3. So I don't know how this is all going to work. We haven't gotten full details yet, but man, what does this say to you about the future of E3? Because when you look at E3 without any of the three big players, Nintendo, PlayStation, or Xbox, you're left with third parties to kind of carry the water. And those third parties, Ubisoft, EA, they've been doing their own things during the pandemic as well. They, don't necessarily need to have a huge presence at E3. They've got their own ways of getting their news out now too. What do you think this means for E3 in the long term? Is this kind of like the death knell? Is this a signal that they're on their way out, or do you think it could survive without the three major players showing up?
it's very interesting. Like this is the first year in few years now where it's going to be a big in-person event thing, and my hype was excited for that in hopes that as all the big players came back to E3, right, and made it a big spectacle again. Now the thing about E3 this year though is that I expect it to be different than any E3 in the past because it's being run by another company that does like I think they do like the
Mhm.
PAX East and
Yes.
those shows,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Uh they do PAX. So I feel like E3 was going to be different either way. And I'm wondering if this is more or less due to what E3 is going to be now than anything else, right? Like maybe when they made that move, it's more of a because it used to be real media driven, right? E3 was, right? They had
Yes.
their media
Huge.
days and then they wouldn't
Yes.
even allow very many like just
No.
people in there besides
No. For a
media.
while there was
Yeah.
none. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then they kind of switched and started letting in people, and then a lot of the media people complained about it because it took away a lot of their access to the games, right? And then this kind of was a wishy-washy back and forth, and we had the pandemic. A lot of even before this, also, even when they were still a bigger thing, a lot of the big third parties still skipped E3. Also, like
Mhm.
2K, usually didn't have a booth or whatever, or like I don't remember, maybe even Activision or a couple other EA, and so there was some of the bigger publishers that started doing their own thing and not having booths as well. So I can't remember who had booths, who didn't have booths, but I remember there was a couple that were usually absent. And that's was a reason why people say, well, you're not going to get this announcement at E3 because they're not even at E3, right? So from my mind, it's like, what is E3 now? And I don't think we know that until the show happens.
Right.
Um, but maybe the kind of show that it is just doesn't make sense for Xbox to have a booth there, you know? And
Mhm.
beforehand, like when they had their event across the street, they were still part of E3, right? So as Grubb said, the access to E3 gave you access to the Microsoft event. Well, that's
Right.
the biggest difference here. And maybe Summer's Game Fest is going to have a big in person thing. And if you have access to that, you can get access to the Microsoft event. If that's the case, and they have like switched allegiances to Keighley, right? But regardless, the thing I just want to have is the big moment in the summer for
Right.
gaming, right?
Correct. Correct.
Whether who's part of what or whatever, I don't care. If you actually ended up having like 3 or 4 big different things all happening in LA at the same time, that could
Right.
even be bigger than what we ever thought of as E3. We can still
Sure. Sure.
call it
Sure.
E3, right? But E3 is just now a part of it that may become more of just a fan event that is going to have some publishers there, some booth stuff set up, maybe more geared towards the culture side, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And then have your media stuff happen more side with Keeley with the Summer Game Fest, right? And then maybe have everybody have their own events and showcases around there, like Nintendo was doing their direct and everything. That's kind of what in my mind's at right now, what I'm almost expecting it to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know. As long as what we get, I think Summer Game Fest was like what, like a week after E3 last time, a week before or
It was the
something.
weekend. It was the week. It was the Thursday and Friday before E3 weekend, right? Because
Right.
then,
So it all
yep,
felt like
yep,
one big thing anyway.
yep,
So for my perspective, like as somebody that's watching this stuff, right? Not
mhm,
actually attending. Because I think attending is a different
mhm,
story.
correct,
Attending has a much bigger impact on people that are attending, right? And
absolutely,
I don't know if I'm gonna be able to attend or anything this year or not anyway, but knowing that E3 access wouldn't give me access to a Microsoft booth or anything like that either, I would have to figure out how to get into that event, right?
hmm
So that's what I'd be waiting for, right? So haven't been able to figure out if that's going to even be able to happen yet or not. But for people attending, this is a much bigger deal, I think, than people just sitting back at home watching the gaming news unfold, right?
Right.
Because for
Right.
us, we still get a
Yes.
Microsoft showcase, right?
Yes.
We still get a maybe a Nintendo Direct around there. PlayStation didn't have a state of play around that time last year, but we have the Keighley show, and they usually have a decent presence there. So we'll probably have maybe still a much bigger spectacle in the summertime. Whether it's
Possible.
all called E3 or not, I think is irrelevant at this point for the most part. I love the history of E3. Um, I just don't know if these big companies feel like they need them anymore.
Correct. The money.
Um, yeah, I mean they're asking to, like, we saw the amounts they were asking
Yeah.
for these
Yes.
booths, right? And like Microsoft's got their own theater and stuff, right? So it's like, why are we gonna pay the E3 like a couple $100,000 for, or maybe millions, just to? And before, even when they had the digital events, it came out that they were asking like
Yeah.
a ridiculous amount of
It
money
was like
just to have like
100,000.
just to have like a link or something to their like E3 event on their webpage. And like we were granted access to media access for that, right? Because they were giving them out like candy. And man, that was like, there was nothing. It was a barren wasteland, right?
Right.
In that website. Like there was the whole digital E3 thing. That was like, I couldn't believe that when I found out how much money they're asking for people to be a part of that, right?
Right.
So I don't know, man. I feel like ESA, I don't really understand what they do besides E3, right? Um, and as far as their importance with gaming media and the news over the summer, I feel like it's declined dramatically when all these companies realize that they can do their own shows and doesn't necessarily have to say they're part of E3. They can just do it at the same time, right? And do their own thing. They all have these big productions now that they can put on, these big stage shows and everything, and I don't feel like they need the help to do that. Maybe like they used to. I don't know. You're on mute, Pong.
Thanks. Professional podcaster. As always. They don't have to do it anymore. You know, this is where the nostalgia kicks in for me. Just like the death of video game, magazines. Even though I have access to more information now than I ever did before,
Yeah.
I still miss getting excited waiting for that new magazine with a demo disc to show up in the mailbox. I miss those days, and I could say that most old people get to this point or whatever else. Not everybody does. Some people just don't give a shit about the past or whatever. But for me, this is where my nostalgia kicks in, because E3 for me will always, even though I never attended one, it didn't matter. As a video, as a gamer, as a nerd, as somebody who was paying attention to this stuff before it was even popular, back when it was still had a lot of stigmas attached to it, E3 was special. E3 was a big moment in time, right? And I know things change. I mean, obviously, E3 itself was changing and evolving as the times. I mean, again, booth babes we saw go away. That whole era. I mean, I remember. I mean, cosplay has basically replaced it. I don't care what anybody says, but whatever. That kind of stuff. It was already evolving and changing. And when they invited the public in, it changed even more, because obviously the dynamic changes dramatically. And I know journalists were upset, and obviously the coverage wasn't the same because they weren't having the same access as they were previously. So there's a lot going on with E3, but E3 to me, when I think of E3, it still means something as the mecca of video games, right? Where everybody showed up, or everybody was watching, or everybody was reading about who was coming to E3, what news came out of E3. And I miss it, man. I really do. And I'm going to miss it. If this is the final kind of hurrah for E3, or if they evolve into something smaller, like you said, or maybe E3 itself just becomes a part of, like what you said, is a still week-long event. It's just everybody kind of does their own thing. And then here's this little E3 where some people show up, or maybe more indie devs start showing up to having E3 booths. Maybe they cut their prices down. Maybe they adjust themselves. Who knows? whatever this final form is. But whether it's the last hurrah or we're seeing the diminishing part of E3, sucks to me. That's why I wanted Nintendo and Sony to come back and Xbox to come back. I wanted that. I still, again, maybe it's just wishful thinking at this point, but I still think that E3 could be something with the right people in charge. And I thought maybe with this new company taking over that does the PAX stuff, that maybe that was going to invigorate some people to come back to the LA Center. But I still think it could be that big thing if everybody kind of agreed to show back up. But business being business, Mav, it being 2023, the digital age, everybody has their own thing. Nintendo's got their directs. PlayStation's got their state of plays and their showcases whenever they decide to do one, which hasn't been forever, by the way. And now Microsoft is jumping in. Xbox is jumping in with their developer directs. Everybody's got ways to reach people now, millions of people at one time, right? So you don't need that E3 physical presence anymore, like you once did. So I get it. I get it from that standpoint. But again, I'm sad. I'm sad about it. I really thought maybe this year, I said it before, man. We had that discussion. I thought I had a feeling that maybe Sony would come back. If Xbox was going to show up at E3, now that Sony knows it's got competition, now that there's a fight on this generation at least, that they would come back to say, nope, we're here. We're going to show up and we're going to go toe to toe.
That was always the best part of it, because you had, you know, it felt like a competition between like the future of these platforms. Like every time, because you had Nintendo's show, and then what usually happened was Microsoft let off, right? So you had Microsoft, and then like the following day or afternoon or whatever, or sometimes even the same day, or that night or whatever,
it was
you would have
amazing
PlayStation. So it's like you watch one show, and then you take a little bit of break, and then you watch the other show, and then the next day you watch the Nintendo show, and then you watch the Ubisoft show, you watch the EA show, and that happened all within like 2 to 3 days.
4 days.
Right.
4 days, something like that.
And it was like, what? Then you had like the weird ass Konami stuff that they would do.
Yep. I was just going to say it.
Like Capcom and like these
Koei Tecmo. Tecmo would show
just
up.
Like just random weirdness that would happen at those shows, but there was still little cool stuff that would happen, right?
Yeah. Namco back in the day would be showing up and showing out.
God. And I always used to look forward to the Ubisoft ones, because you didn't never know like what they were gonna do. Like I remember one year they had James Cameron talk on stage for like an hour and a half.
Yes.
I was like,
and he talked about himself in his movies more than he did Ubisoft.
Yeah, it was weird, man. I was like, are we supposed to be? Is this a gaming event, or is this like talking about Avatar? It's really weird. And that was all just because of that one Avatar game came out, like that.
Right.
The third party Ubisoft licensed Avatar. It was really weird.
It was.
But it just, the randomness of it was so amazing. You know, to not know what to expect. Whether we didn't know if Kudo Sonata was going to show up on stage and his legs were going to look broken on an Avatar, right? Or you know, like the Beatles were going to show up, or you know, like just like crazy stuff, man. Just like you never knew what was going to happen.
Everybody tried to outdo themselves, right? You know, Forza would show up with a car on stage, right? I mean, it was insane.
Oh yeah, and you remember like the awkward stage demos of like dancing and stuff, like Dance Central.
Or how about the play demos too, where they supposedly had people live playing?
Oh yeah, live playing, and you can tell they're just like going through this, and they're not actually playing, you know,
playing, or the machines would fail, right? The game would start up.
Amazing stuff, man. And all that stuff just adds to like the craziness of the history of E3, though, right? So I do miss it, man. I think we're more like into these really high produced like production showcases now that are less stage driven. I would like to see, because of the live audience aspect, right? Microsoft go back to that, which I think they said there are, which changes the show. You know what I mean?
It does. The energy from the theater is different. Correct.
When you're just watching something that's just full of trailers and it's like somebody just standing in front of a camera that's just taped.
Yeah.
You know, it's different. It's overproduced, all these different things. When you got somebody on stage talking,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
He's talking to that audience. You know what I mean? And
Perfect
they don't
example is
know what
Keanu
that audience
Reeves.
is going to be.
Keanu
Yeah.
Reeves with Cyberpunk, right?
You're
That's a perfect
breathtaking.
example.
Yes.
Yeah, that just happened out of the blue.
Randomly.
It just became viral out of the blue because it was spontaneous, because that's what you get with the live audience. It was crazy.
Yeah. So I miss that stuff. I feel like the live shows aspect is a big part of that, and I think we're getting back to some of that this year.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll see PlayStation get back into that. I don't know if we'll see Nintendo, right? But Microsoft, I feel like we're getting back to that. As far as these other companies, who knows, man? But it'll be a fun year this year, regardless, I think. And but I have no idea what to expect for somebody when they walk into that LA Convention Center for E3. Right.
Yep.
No expectations whatsoever. I don't know. I don't know what you guys are gonna get. So we'll see.
Yeah, man. It will be. I mean, we're obviously going to get a ton of news that week. That's not going away. There's going to be a ton of things to watch, a ton of things to dive into. But and I mean, Phil already said in his interview with IGN, right, that they already knew what they're doing that week, right? So he sounded like he's got the roadmap. So they're already locked in.
I think they've had big plans for it because they've been waiting for this to come back. You know,
right? And hopefully that's the case. We're still gonna have a fun time. Like I said, it's just it's worthy of conversation. Again, some people don't know how big E3 is and what it used to be like. The pageantry behind it, the money that was spent trying to one up each other, trying to impress journalists, especially to write, flowery pieces about whatever they saw. I mean, there was crazy stuff. Again, the Bethesda showcases at E3 are legendary. The Iron Lords talk about going to the Bethesda, the Skyrim, and they walked in and they had these giant turkey legs, open bar. Like it was just like this crazy scene when you walked in. Bethesda was known for their E3 parties.
Yeah.
All of that. Some people could say it's bad. Some people could say, well, not some good things didn't come out of those things. Yeah, I understand all that. Right. But I still have, again, just this idea in my head of what a great time it was, and to see it kind of disappear just makes me sad in a way. That's all. So that was the news out of E3 this week. Let's get into some PlayStation news real quick here, Mal. We got some VR2 news. This happened this week. Some back and forth a little bit with Sony themselves, actually, because Bloomberg, shout out to Bloomberg, of course, came out this week and reported that Sony cut the PlayStation VR2 forecast in half due to low pre-orders. Originally, Sony was aiming for 2 million during launch quarter, now down to 1 million. High price tag seen as limiting the interest. I mean, who would have thought, right, Mav? And then Christopher Dring came out and he reported from GamesIndustry.biz, again, one of my favorite sites. I know some people have issues with Christopher. I personally don't. I think he's pretty even keel, because he said some things I certainly don't agree with. Yeah, but everybody does, so I don't care.
Right.
There's things Mav say I don't agree with, so whatever. But he came out and reported that Sony responded directly and said that they denied cutting the PSVR 2 shipments. Quote, "We are seeing enthusiasm from PlayStation fans for the upcoming launch, which includes more than 30 titles such as Gran Turismo 7, Horizon Call of the Mountain, and Resident Evil Village." I love how companies, when they respond to something, have to turn it into an ad. I love when they do that. So Sony denies it completely, that this is happening. But
I think they denied that the production, the production and shipments were cut in half.
Yeah, denied it's cutting shipments.
I didn't see that in the original report. I saw them say the forecast was cut in half.
Correct. And then I couldn't find the exact tweets, but both Paul Tassi from Forbes, shout out to Paul, and Tom Warren, of course, from The Verge, both hopped underneath Christopher Dring's tweet and said, "Interesting choice of words. You can say that they're not, that they're telling the truth about one side of it, but they're not denying the actual other side, right? So they're saying that the shipments, denied it's cutting the PSVR 2 shipments. That doesn't mean that internally they didn't cut back the production. They're just saying, hey, no, we're still going to ship we're still going to ship what we think we're going to ship.
Right.
But that doesn't mean behind the scenes that they haven't pulled back
On the forecast.
So both,
right.
both of them called it out and said it was a very curious choice of words, and you could definitely see how they would get around from people claiming that they lied. Mav, PSVR 2, we talked about this a lot when it was first announced. Again, I have zero interest in VR until I get hooked in. I'm very supportive of companies like PlayStation for doing the PSVR 2 thing, because I'm not one of those people who says the future is not VR. I don't know that right now. I don't know that, 15 years from now, VR becomes a mainstay for everybody and it becomes super cheap technology and everything is working really well. And all of a sudden that's a way that a majority of people are playing games. I can't say that right now. So I'm excited when companies push this forward. The thing I said was, I don't know if the state that Sony's in right now, if spending all that resources on VR was necessarily the smartest move. If I was in that position, I don't know if I'd be trying to get into this niche market. I think there's other things they could be focusing on, but I'm supportive of them. But when this price was announced, right, Mav, when it was the what is it, 500,
550 or something
550,
like that,
yeah, 550,
yeah.
We talked about it and we said, look, even if the technology and people who know, tech people who know, say that this is high-end VR stuff, even if that tech's up there, you got less than 1% of the VR market as Sony. Less than 5% of your consumer base, console base, bought into this thing last time around. Now you're going to ask them to pay $550? That doesn't seem like a smart plan. And then they told us, then the projection numbers came out, shipping 2 million by March 2023. We were like, they're really confident in this thing. Like, this is like crazy. Like, that's almost as much as they sold all of last generation with PSVR 1. Mav, does this shock you at all, brother?
No. That there was going to be a limited audience for it? No.
Yeah. No.
That people don't want to spend $550 for an accessory to a console? That you can't even access almost all the other content that's on the console? No. I mean, it's its own ecosystem platform that lives within that. But I feel like, and I always have, that having to own a box, then to own the accessory, then to have special things made specifically for that is a very limiting model, right? That's not going to achieve the masses, right? And I was never asking for PlayStation to do that, because this is not for me, right? This is for the enthusiasts. And I feel like the enthusiasts will buy this. The issue is, if they don't have enough sales, they don't have enough people actually invested in the ecosystem. What does that do when this ecosystem is so closed off now that you have only a few companies potentially making games for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then it becomes potentially at some point a barren wasteland, right? And that's the main issue with this, right? Whereas PC VR, there's always something, right? There's always something out there. And you have competing VR headsets that are in the PC ecosystem, right? That are very high end as well. You have much more access to a plethora of games and also other things. So the only thing that makes the PSVR special really is the PSVR games that come to it. And I don't feel like they've sold anybody enough on the special games that are coming to it to make people that excited for it, right? It reminds me of, this is why I'm glad Xbox didn't go down this road, right? Because people that have been asking for Xbox to go down this road for a long time. If Xbox went into VR, right, and they dove into it, they would have to go full bore to try and make it work, right? At that point, it requires allocating resources, right? A lot of resources. This happened before with Xbox with the Kinect, right?
Correct.
You come out with this peripheral, which is much cheaper than a VR, right? But you come out with a peripheral, And then all of a sudden, well, we got to have content for this because, the only people that are going to get to enjoy this are the people that own the Kinect stuff. And in order to sell more Kinects, we got to have more content out there. So we got to get, it's like, but then you got to have an Xbox first as well, so you got to keep, there's all these barriers and stuff, right? And Xbox, what did they do? They took the resources they had and they turned a lot of them towards making Kinect stuff, right? Rare, Lionhead, didn't work out so well, right? So in the long term, the accessory game for console hardware has never been a super huge success,
right?
For anything, even like the nostalgic Nintendo stuff we all love. Remember the Super Scope, Power Glove, right? Yep. All these things, right? They were cool niche things, like fun things that added to the overall like amazingness of an ecosystem of hardware, right? But you remember when you got that stuff, it's like, oh, they're going to make a new thing for this? No, they never did, right? Because there wasn't enough people that owned them. Right. So the same thing with the VR. Yeah, there will be VR games. There will be more VR games. But unless there's a massive success and there's a hit and there's enough investment from people, it's not going to grow and eventually could die. And it could also cost other PlayStation users other games it could have potentially got for the masses as well.
Yep.
Right. So I don't know. I'm glad they are investing in the tech and they're pushing it, but I feel like not having a more mass appeal type device was the wrong move. I feel like they could have gone a completely different direction. If you're PlayStation, I don't know, you could have had a standalone device and called it a PlayStation something and had games sold for it and not requiring even a PlayStation, right? Like that would be cool. Have it usable.
More expensive.
Yeah, but if it's usable on PC and usable on a PlayStation, or usable on a PlayStation, usable on a PC, usable on whatever, or you just by itself as well, you're opening it up for freedom of options and freedom of choice as well. So I don't know, man. I feel like it's cool. It's a cool thing. It's an expensive, cool thing that a few people are going to enjoy. When I say few, millions, there will be millions of people that buy this, right? But like less than 10% of PS5 owners will end up owning this.
If they get to 5%, I think they'll be happy.
Yeah. So you put that in perspective.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you put that in perspective. Less than 5%, most likely, people will own this device that's on a console for then which games have to be made specifically for that device. Just doesn't sound like a great business model set up for success, right? So when they're making these decisions, all these investments have to be kept into check over what their expectations are. And right now, seeing that they already cut their forecast in half is not good news for their expectations, right? Whether that's true or not doesn't surprise me. But I didn't see the other people saying that as well, Pong. But when I saw the denial and I saw that they said shipments, I was like, that's not what they said.
No. Right.
That's not what the report said. The report said forecast. So when you can't call somebody a liar for saying something that they didn't say, right? Like,
Correct.
And
Correct.
Which is what they're doing. And
corporate speak.
Yeah, corporate speak. They're trying to save face for their investors, right? For the fans that are invested in the VR that have pre-ordered it as well. They want them to feel like there's a future with the device, right? You don't want negative vibes out there leading up before launch soon. But anytime you forecast your sales down by half, it's a lot, right?
Correct.
But it's not surprising because when we saw that those numbers originally, we thought they overshot for sure.
For sure. And then, price point being one of them, but price point in this economic world right now, number two.
Yeah.
Like that, again, they had already done all their R&D. They had started producing them. They were ready to rock and roll. There was no turning back. And nobody predicted the pandemic. But now, with the pandemic, And now, obviously, recession worldwide. Yeah, trying to launch this expensive of a device is not easy. And it's not going to turn out well in most cases unless you're blowing everybody's socks off. And even though there's been some high praise, I saw IGN got hands-on with the Gran Turismo virtual reality VR setup and tried it out. And really, Ryan McCaffrey had great praise for it, said it was awesome, blah, blah, blah. That's fine and dandy, but you don't have the biggest one. I think Nick's in the chat mentioned it, Half-Life Alyx. You don't have the Half-Life Alyx at launch, which is the biggest VR game, the most important VR game to date, I would say, because it gave people a lot more reason to own a VR to get that experience from Half-Life. And people loved Half-Life Alyx, but to not have that day one launch, it's tough, man. You don't have a lot to sell it on outside of, like you said, Mav, your enthusiasts, the people that are tech heads, the people that have to have every new piece of technology. And again, that's even chopped down more because everybody's wallet's hurting right now, no matter where you are in life.
And even then,
suffering.
If somebody's if that enthusiast is already happy in his VR world with his super high-end PC headset, they, at that point, still need something exciting that's only on that PlayStation hardware to get them in, right?
Which is
what?
Is Horizon.
Maybe? Do you see a lot of hype for Horizon?
No, I don't. But I'm saying that's what they're trying. They're doing first-party stuff, right? They are trying. But yeah, you're right. There's no killer app as of this moment.
Yeah, they need that killer thing. Like, you need a PSVR to experience this, to get even the PSVR enthusiasts or the VR enthusiasts to jump on board, because they don't just got to buy a PSVR at that point. They also got to go buy a PS5, right?
Right.
And I don't know, man. I hope it's successful. I really do. For VR fans, right?
Yes.
I just never saw this as more than what PSVR 1 was going to be. And if it turns out to be slightly more, that's great. I think it could be slightly more. But I didn't see this big mass VR adoption, right? And it does concern me that, that's where a lot of the resources could be heading for PlayStation right now. If, remember last year, like, how many VR announcements did we get for PlayStation? We got several, right? We get very many new game announcements last year for PlayStation. That's not part of VR.
Not as of yet.
No, but I mean, you could say, well, it's tied into, the VR launching this March or whatever, and everybody's like, okay, that makes sense. But overall, long term, what's the overall long term effects of that? And we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we're gonna have to wait and see. And like I said previously, when we talked about it, that this could be the last VR for Sony as well. Because Sony has to make a decision where these resources are going. If Sony remains independent, let's assume that, somebody like Apple or Amazon doesn't pick up Sony. We know, even if Sony has, and they're off to a great start, we'll talk about that in a second when it comes to the console sales and some of their software sales, they're off to a great start this generation, zero doubt about that. But even if they have a great generation, we've seen them drop things like the Vita, like the PSP, even though they had some success and there was a very rabid group of individuals who loved those devices, because Sony didn't see the market share, they dropped them like a bad habit. And if PSVR 2 doesn't somehow explode, and I think they're all in, that's why we see all these announcements. That's why there's 30 games at launch. That's why they have some of their third-party partners going back and redoing PSVR 1 games to make them available for PSVR 2. They're trying, but how much longer can they continue to dump money into this? Like, how much longer are they willing to do this experiment and garner less than, and again, I just saw the stat the other day, they literally have less than 1% of the entire VR market, which the VR market is already niche, but you have less than 1% of that market.
Yeah.
How much more are you going to dump into this? If you don't see this technology taking off in the next 10 years, why would you continue to invest? When you've got to build up, when you've got to fix all this other stuff to compete with Microsoft and Xbox right now, why would you continue to dump into VR? Again, I'm happy they do. And I love that companies that try different things. But sometimes you got to cut your losses and say, we tried, wasn't the right time, just didn't cut it. We'll come back if it changes. If the industry changes, if something changes within VR, we've got this experience. We know how to market it. We'll come back into the game. But eventually you got to look at your resources. And again, I'm just speaking from the outside. No experience whatsoever with any of this stuff. But I'm just saying that from the outside, you got to wonder. Like I said, they've dumped more successful things previously than this. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens here. Maybe something will come out.
I think they're hoping that people that buy it, they love it, the word spreads, you know, and then it takes off from there. And there's this whole new wave of VR gamer born out of the excitement for this, which could happen. Who knows, right?
It could.
And more power to them if that happens. But it just won't be me.
It's going to be the software. No, it won't be me. It's got to be software, though. It's got to be content. That's what's going to grab people, right? You can have the best damn technology in the world. Don't matter if you don't have anything that's going to capture people's minds that they absolutely need this, in their lives. Like, oh my God, I got to play this. And right now, VR is in its infancy. There's just not the experiences that I see. While they might be cool for like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, to me, not something I would sit in for like we just did yesterday on Age of Empires 2 for 6 hours. Like to me, it's not there yet. It's just not there yet. Eventually it will, though. I do see it.
Let's get to a super chat real quick.
You got a super chat?
Clutchman01 thinks Clutchman01 with a $2 super chat says, have a great show, guys. 200 plus viewers, people. Let's go. Not close to that right now, but appreciate you, bro. Let's go. Maybe we'll get there. We've
been growing. We're getting there. We had like 150 last week.
Something like that. No, I think like 175.
175. Yeah, we were close to 200 last week, so we were dirt on. Speaking of Sony, Matt, got a couple more Sony pieces here as well. We don't get to talk about Sony very often. The news always swings one way, so when it comes up, we gotta kind of get into it here. Sony Santa Monica came out today and put out a tweet today. We're incredibly humbled that God of War Ragnarok has officially sold through 11 million copies. None of this would be possible without the support of our fans, and thank you for coming on this journey with us. Not bad. When did God of War release? November?
Yeah.
Is it November? So 2 months, 11 million copies. Yes, we will acknowledge the fact that it's bundled. I think Gaming Forte put out a tweet today and said 7 out of 10 PlayStation 5s he sells out of GameStop are bundled with God of War. So yeah, bundles do help, but let's not. Okay, this isn't Horizon Forbidden West. This is God of War. Yeah. God of War is more popular than Horizon Forbidden West. Most people, when they're buying a PlayStation 5, unless they're just a Madden Call of Duty player or a Madden Rust player like my kiddo is, he just picked up his PS5 and he's playing Rust of all things. That kid sometimes, I tell you. Most people that pick up a PS5 want God of War Ragnarok, or at least will try it. It's not something they're like, oh, really? I got to get a PS5 and I got to have God of War in there and I got to pay extra for it. Most people aren't disappointed that they're getting the bundle with God of War. Okay, I'm not crazy like that. I'm not going to say stupid shit like that. So, but 11 million copies, 2 months, math. That's pretty damn good. That shows a lot of strength here.
Their financials show it too. Like,
yes,
the God of War effect with that, I believe, right?
Yeah, it's Sony Santa Monica and Insomniac are absolutely powering PlayStation right now. 100%.
Yep.
You can talk about Naughty Dog, but Naughty Dog's, I can tell you this, Naughty Dog's budget is a whole lot more than both of those, than any game that Insomniac or Sony Santa Monica puts out there. I'm sure God of War wasn't cheap, but Naughty Dog had over 2,000 people working on The Last of Us. Okay? It's a different level. And Last of Us 2 did not sell as well as they had hoped. No matter what Druckmann wants to say, it did not sell the way they thought it would. Okay? The period, point blank. God of War at 11 million through 2 months. You got to figure by the end of this year, Mav, you're talking about approaching 20 million probably at least, right? Somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
That's huge. Again, when you hit, there's not many games, even Nintendo games. I mean, they have more of these than most. But if you sell between 15 and 20 million copies of something, of a AAA game, a $70 game, you're doing pretty well for yourselves. So hats off to Sony Santa Monica. Matt, you got any thoughts on 11 million in 2 months?
Yeah, I mean it's good. Great games sell, right? Hi-Fi Rush. We've seen what the numbers it's been doing, like on Steam and stuff like that as well for like a even a game that just came out of nowhere, right? Like if a game is good and people love it, usually going to do pretty good for the most part, right? Like, I know there's some like great games out there that are more niche and stuff, but when it's a game like God of War comes out and it has that name behind it, has that history behind it, it comes out and it's quality, it reviews well, has the hype, it's going to explode, right?
Yep.
And it's just what we anticipated, that it was going to be a big time seller for them. And this was their biggest seller so far, I think, will be for this generation, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see what else they have up their sleeve. I think
Until Spider-Man 2.
Spider-Man 2 hits, it'll do massive numbers, and then supposedly next year maybe they're saying Wolverine.
Yeah,
Now,
fall.
so Wolverine will be another one that I think is gonna be crazy. I think we can anticipate probably like one big, massive, great game a year for PlayStation, right? For the next few years, and then maybe other games that
We're
come
gonna
out
get games
in.
of service. We're gonna get
Yeah,
games of service in between and all that kind. And one of those could hit. Two of those
yeah,
could hit, and they could be huge, right? They could be.
for
Factions could be
sure.
gigantic when it drops.
Yeah,
Um,
they needed the God of War. I think they needed the God of War to hit
yeah,
like it did, because a lot of the other games didn't hit as well as they had expected, I think, right?
right.
So this one was a big like redemption, I think, as far as like
Mhm.
uh putting that stamp back again against that Sony name with the first party titles, right? And showing what they can do. It wasn't another remake, it wasn't another remaster, it wasn't another director's cut, right? It wasn't another sequel that felt like it was lesser than its previous, right? This one, for the most part, to everybody that's played it, seemed like they love it, and it was everything they hoped for, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yes. Absolutely.
that's what you need to do with a sequel as big as God of War, right? So,
Yep.
congrats to them for that, and can't wait to see what more big, great Sony games come out this generation. Spider-Man 2, I wish I was more excited for it. I haven't seen anything enough to differentiate it from the other Spider-Man games for me yet. Um, but I am excited for Wolverine for sure. But the sad news from PlayStation was that they have moved away, for the most part at least, from Naughty Dog, from Uncharted, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Drunkman came out this week and confirmed. Or okay, this is Drunkman, so
yeah,
take everything he says with a grain of salt. He said that they're done with the Uncharted series, and who knows? Maybe The Last of Us 2 was the Last of Us. Oh, okay, Neil. Okay, all right.
yeah.
Okay,
Well,
so
he's
but
making
yeah,
a
it was kind
space
of sad.
game right now, so he's probably in that
Yeah,
world, right?
yeah.
Uncharted was my favorite PlayStation franchise, probably. Um, so that's sad for me because I hoped for more, you know.
Yeah.
And Last of Us never really got into, but I like the show. The future of what these games companies are going to make is always interesting. I will be interested in whatever that space game is. That's for sure.
Yes.
Right?
Sci-fi. Sure.
Yeah, give me a sci-fi game made by that creator. I'm definitely my interest is peaked. Um, but Wolverine's probably number one most excited game I have. I don't even know anything about it yet, but I know it's a
But now
Wolverine
that they've
game made by
confirmed,
Insomniac.
and they confirmed that it's a hard
Hard R,
rated R, hard R,
hard R. Yeah, let's go.
hard R. It's going to be semi-open world, so not fully open world. They did confirm that today as well, or Grub did, I should say. This was another Grub.
Yeah,
And he said that they were shooting for fall of 2024 or early 2025 as of right.
yeah,
So
makes sense.
that's where they're at. Yeah, that makes sense. Insomniacs are wizards. They're one of the best studios out there. You couldn't have found a better fit for what Sony wanted to do at the time when they acquired Insomniac. Of course, Phil wishes he could go back in time and buy them. Different time period for Xbox. They missed it. They missed a lot of things back then, but Sony found the right studio to push forward with the Marvel license. And unbelievable match, unbelievable pairing that they've got with Insomniac. They are absolute wizards. Talk about a studio that can pump out content, ridiculous high quality content. I don't care what anybody says. Again, Spider-Man, I thought it was okay. Nothing special. Again, not a superhero fan, but you can see I can fall in love with superhero games. Fell in love with Midnight Suns. So if you do it right, for me, I'll fall in love with it no matter what. Spider-Man was okay, but you can't deny the quality. You can't deny what it did. You can't deny that there's tens of millions of people out there that absolutely love Spider-Man 2018 and love Miles Morales. And now you're going to get a rated, you're going to get Spider-Man 2, and then a year and a half later, you're going to get Wolverine. That they're going full blood and gore, and they said they're not going to do any, they're not going to have any connection to the Fox Wolverine at all. Thank God. The abomination that was the X-Men movies from Fox. They're not going to go that route at all. So this could be classic Wolverine. And even though Wolverine is not my favorite X-Men, I love Wolverine, obviously, like most people do, and they're going to do him right. And for me, that's all that matters. So if you're going to make this an adult-themed Wolverine game, blood, gore, dark, hopefully, I'm all about it. So they are lined up here, Mav. Like you said, they might not have the level of content as far as what Microsoft and Xbox have going, but the quality is going to continue to be there as well with what they do have. And I don't doubt that Insomniac's going to pull off Wolverine. I don't. I have the utmost confidence they're going to do them right. So that's a big win for them. Wolverine is going to be a giant IP if it does come out as most Insomniac games do. It's going to be giant. It's going to be huge. My God, Mav, think about it. If you can dismember people with Wolverine.
Oh, my God.
If you're hunting down people like Wolverine does in the comic books where he goes full feral and goes on hunts, and he's talking bub and he's smoking a cigar and he's hanging out in bars. My God, Wolverine is going to be gigantic, bro. Gigantic. It's going to be massive. So yeah, there was a lot of good news today coming from Sony outside of the PSVR 2 stuff, because we also did, Tom Warren posted a couple tweets, which I posted in the DMs, and they disappeared. He deleted them. I'm not quite sure. He left the article up in his Insider Gaming website. So he posted sources, Sony to ship 30 million PlayStation 5s in fiscal year 23. Matt, 30 million they're going to ship in the fiscal year. That's double what they have sold. I think that somebody just came out this week too and said that they are now at 32 million. They had their best December holiday season that they've had. And they're now at 32 million consoles sold. And I think Xbox is between 21 and 23, I think right now. So they've got about a 10 million lead on Xbox. But if Sony has fixed all their problems, and we know that the chances that new digital-only SKU coming out this year with the attachable disk drive, which that's going to be a whole nother experience that I can't wait to see. This is going to be a big giant experiment as well. They're got all that figured out, and they're going to be able to ship 30 million fiscal year 23. They could be in for some huge numbers once more. Tom Warren went on to say these figures were briefly mentioned in our exclusive report last month on a new PlayStation 5 releasing with a detachable disk drive. Since then, sources have provided more information on the anticipated PlayStation 5 sales numbers. Production of the new detachable disk drive is expected to start April 2023, with the console hitting the market in September of that year, sources said. So September this year is when we're supposed to see this thing. It was said that Sony aims to sell 18 million consoles in fiscal year 2022 and 30.5 million in fiscal year 2023, just shy of a 70% increase year over year. 12 million of the 30.5 million consoles in fiscal year 23 will be of the old PlayStation 5, with that console completely ceasing production by the holiday of 2023. It is believed that the new detachable disk drive, PlayStation 5, is a means to reduce production costs moving forward. The company will need to manufacture one console. Oh, great. Thanks for the ad, Tom. Let me bring back. Let's see. Where are we? It is believed that the new tech. No, I don't. Oh, I'm pushing on my keyboard too. I got weird sounds in my head. Oh my God. It's believed that this
sounds in my head.
I have sounds in my head. Get them out. The company will only need to manufacture one console, but will have two price points of the digital and disc versions. Presumably, this could mean that the detachable disk drive will be priced around $100, which is currently the price difference between the digital and standard PS5. Earlier today, David Gibson, a senior analyst at MST Financial, reported on Twitter that Sony's C shipments to the U.S. increased 400% in September of 2022 compared to September of 2021. The rest is all kind of boring stuff. 30 million fiscal year. 30.5 to be exact, Mav. That's a damn lot of consoles, bro. If they do that this fiscal year, which we're in now, right? We're in fiscal year 2023. Yeah, we should be. Again, that would put them at 60 plus million PS5s. That's a big start to a generation, especially when content, there's only been cross-gen content. They've had good content. They've had good games come out. They've had consistent games come out, but nothing like earth-shattering, right? They've had a bunch of remakes, and then they've had God of War. They've had Miles Morales. They're going to have Spider-Man 2. But for fiscal 2023, that's what Ratchet and Clank, obviously, everybody knows the list. 60 million copies, or 60 million units within, 3 years?
Yeah.
Not bad. Not bad, bro. Shows the health of the industry. This industry is growing, even with all the problems, and that we haven't seen that software yet to push the current gen consoles. The demand is ridiculous right now for these things. So I'm impressed by those numbers. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it's impressive. I think it's going to get even more impressive this year. I feel like this generation is a lot closer, right, between both, and I feel like the companies are more pushing each other. PS5, I think, comparatively compared to where PS4 was at the same amount of time, is down a few million, right? But I feel like that's been made up by Xbox being up more as well, right? So the overall trajectory right now for PlayStation is really good, especially the last quarter financials that they had, right? So I'm anticipating it's going to get better and better this year. And but the key thing is to, like, just overall the industry, Xbox is going to, I think, do way bigger because their last financials were down, but they haven't had any big games. As you coming off 2022 with like no big games, right?
Nope, that's what happens, right?
And
that's what happens.
And you saw what God of War did for PlayStation,
right?
Like, so this year's, already starting off well, right? We already got a couple really good games, and then you're leading into Starfield, Redfall, Forza Motorsport. Possibly, if Grubb is right, Hellblade 2 hitting this holiday season as well. I feel like that's going to sell hardware. Hardware is not the only answer to this whole thing as well. Generationally, last generation to this generation, you went from about a 70-30 swing to closer to a 60-40 swing between PlayStation and Xbox. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens over these next few years, right? Because the next few years, you're going to see it go one way or the other, I feel like.
Yep.
Or I could say about the same, but I feel like you're probably going to see it go one way or the other. And that PlayStation move with the hardware, the price point is going to be key,
Yes.
Because they did go up on price in a lot of places, right, as well. So are they going to be able to have the discless version at the $400 mark? Is that going to have any bundles? Are they going to have any bundles to push that stuff in? Because usually around this time is when we start talking about consoles dropping prices, right? But because of the way the world's been the last couple of years, that's not a reality. Instead, it's been reversed. People are talking about raising prices on hardware. So that's how hurts the growth potential. You know what I mean? Especially when everybody's kind of tight right now. When it costs $50 to go buy a dozen eggs, you know what I mean? It's like, right, eggs or game? Eggs or game? It's like, what are you going to do, right? So I feel like it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. The trajectory, like I said, is good. PlayStation is going to be dependent on their big games because that's what they use to push their hardware. Xbox is going to be dependent on the value of Game Pass and the ecosystem and more about the active users still, right? And overall, but it's more important for them than just hardware alone. Hardware is a good metric to see the success that they've been having. But as 2022 was down mostly for a lot of reasons in gaming, I think despite the way the world is right now, 2023 is going to be an incline for sure.
Mm-hmm. Correct. And it should be, like you said, with the games coming
Yeah.
out this year for Xbox, Spider-Man 2 for Sony. You know, Nintendo's got Zelda, which will shoot the Switch back up again, even though the Switch doesn't need any help. They'll get another bump as well. Maybe the final hurrah for this version of the Switch. But overall, again, that's why I say the industry is so damn healthy, because despite all the stuff that we talked about, and again, we just had word this week that, you know, Xbox raised prices in Japan. I don't agree with any raising of prices by these companies that are spouting off record numbers for quarter after quarter. I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it. I spoke out about it when Sony did it worldwide, except for the US. And I'll do it right here, right now with Xbox in Japan. Even though it brings it more in line with the US prices, it doesn't matter. It's still a price raise in a territory where you're struggling, a territory that you've been weak in forever. And you're going to raise the prices even more. And you're $1 trillion company. Your parent company is $1 trillion company. I'm sorry. Even though they were down, Xbox was down. They were down from record-breaking numbers. So they're down. They're 12% down, I think it was overall. It's still better than most every other quarter they've had, except for the record year that they had the year prior. So to me, it's crazy to raise prices anywhere. So I will always say that. But what I was going to say, the health of the industry, Mav, is shown because even though Sony raised their prices across the board in most territories except for the US, they sold more units than they have in ever.
Yeah.
Right? They had their strongest quarter ever.
Yep.
So what does that say to you? That says that even though we sit here and talk about how people are struggling, and it's true, we all are, we're all feeling a pinch. I don't care how rich you are. We're all feeling a pinch somewhere. But for the average consumer, they're definitely feeling a pinch, but they're still allocating funds for video gaming. Video games have now become a staple entertainment for the home. And that's can't be even questioned anymore, because this, again, during these times, recessions, you can read all the experts you want to. When belts tighten, one of the first things to go is entertainment and hobbies. That's the first place that people cut out, because of course you're not going to cut your family's food budget down to keep your gaming habits going, or to keep your book habit going, right? Or to keep your remote control habit, car habit going, whatever you're into. That's not where you're going to cut. You're going to cut into that hobby, that extra stuff that you know you can live without during these times. But the video game industry, sure, might be down here and there, but overall, it's growing. It's growing more and more. These companies have more and more record profits. It's insane, man. This industry has become resistant to some of the worst financial crises that we've seen.
Yeah.
And that says a lot about this industry. So, again, big numbers across the board. If they hit that mark of shipping 30 million consoles, you know, whether they sell through that or not, you're still talking probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 to 60 million by the end of fiscal year 2023. That is ridiculous. That is a ridiculous number for the period of time we're talking about. Really impressive stuff. And again, like you said, Xbox's MAU, monthly active users, is through the roof. They're actually beating Sony in monthly active users. So again, two different metrics, both equally as important in this day and age. I know some people will argue that it's not, but it truly is. Both Sony also looks at their monthly active users as well. They started that shift, but Xbox, of course, that's a huge thing, because not everybody's playing on Xbox consoles. Xbox is getting traffic from a lot of different locations, including mobile, tablets, and phones, and TV apps now. So they don't just look at console sales anymore. We've talked about that plenty. So big numbers across the board, huge stuff here. Good stuff. Again, shows the health of the industry. So shout out, great month for Sony for sure. Do we got any super chats, Mav, at all?
No, we're good. We're caught up, bro.
We're good. Okay, cool. All right, Mav. I'll mention this too, because I know people have been talking about it. I don't think it's that big a deal, but I know a lot of people have been pointing to it. VGC reporting that Sony has confirmed it will soon remove the PlayStation Plus collection, a library of 20 PS4 games available to subscribers on PS5. Sony has now confirmed that. A lot of those are good portion of those games are in PlayStation Plus. So if you sign up, you do have access to a lot of those games. Not all of them, but a lot of them. I always considered this a bonus for the early adopters of PlayStation 5. I didn't think Sony was going to keep this forever. Did you think that this was like a permanent thing, Mav, or was I crazy?
I remember that when they had it, it was like for new PS5 owners.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it was if the difference is you only had to have the regular PS Plus, like PS Plus Essentials, right?
Right. Correct.
And which was the same thing as like Xbox Live Gold, right?
Right.
And it was pretty sweet because you got a lot of good games all of a sudden for free, right? It was like a platinum hits dump, right? Like
Correct.
they just like dumped a
Correct.
bunch of platinum hits
Exactly.
on you, right?
Yep.
And
Great
it's
way
like,
to
okay,
point out.
great. That's amazing. Awesome. But the PS Plus Extra is more of like the Game Pass, right? Tier. So in order to get those games, now you're gonna have to subscribe to like more of the premium service, right? And I think of like pretty much most, like you said, most of those are in there. So
Yeah.
I
think
but
there's like
you know,
14 of them are in there or something like that. So
it would have been nice if they kept it going. I think there's more of so this is an attempt to push people that are getting PS5s into signing up for that service.
yes.
Because if you give away the best parts of your service for free, it's hard to expect people to
Mhm.
like sign up to something. And this is more or less them finding ways to add value to PS Plus Extra and Premium, right?
Yeah.
Because there's just not a lot else there besides their hit games,
Correct.
right? They don't put
Correct.
new content in there. They don't put anything else in there. And so for a lot of people, it's like, why do I subscribe to this when are they just gave me all the other games anyway for free with the regular subscription? So I questioned it. If you did it, do you get to keep those games? Or they remove access? That's the one thing I'm curious about.
That's a really good question. I don't know if that's been confirmed one way or the
I
other.
would hope
If
you get to keep them if you like.
I would assume if you keep your membership up,
right,
then you get to keep them, right? So
I would
I would assume so.
I would assume so. That's the one question I have. Like, but anyway, it's not a huge deal. I just find it interesting anytime like PlayStation does anything with their subscription services and changes things around. It seems like it's more of manipulating, trying to find ways to make extra seem better than it is, right?
Yep.
Um, and hopefully they actually put the value there at some point where they actually have good content releasing at a steady, decent pace that's new or fairly new, at least.
Yes.
Right.
Correct.
I think that's what we would hope for. But maybe they just don't have that vision for the future, right?
Maybe not. Side note, they also announced their PlayStation Plus Essential games for February. Pretty good list. Ollie Ollie World is coming into there, which is a great indie skateboarding game. It's freaking fantastic.
Yeah.
I haven't played World yet. I played the old Ollie Ollie. Love it. I can't wait to jump in the World at some point. Mafia Definitive Edition, which is absolutely incredible. If you have PlayStation, you got Essentials. If you haven't played Mafia, the Definitive Edition, play it. It's freaking awesome. Love that game. I'm about over halfway through that one again. Evil Dead, the game, is coming in there. And so is Destiny 2 Beyond Light. So they are starting to use that Bungie acquisition a little bit, Matt, which we thought was kind of shocking that they didn't do it out of the gates and just offer all the expansions or something to get people to sign up. But those are your PlayStation Plus Essential games for February. So not bad additions at all. Pretty good, actually. So good stuff there as well.
We do have a super chat from Alvin.
Go. Alvin!
Alvin with a $10 super chat says, testing, question mark. My earlier one really not go through LOL. Also, hi. Yeah, no, our early one did not. But if you wanted to say something specific towards that, let me know, Alvin, because you're amazing.
Just put it in the regular chat, Alvin. Mav will grab it if you just put it in the regular chat, whatever you said, if we missed it or if it didn't go through. No big deal, man. Thanks for the super chat, bro.
Appreciate you, Alvin.
100%. All right, Mav. Let's hop into some stuff here. Let's hop into some Microsoft stuff. All right, let's go Xbox.
Are we going to talk about the Redfall controversy of having to always be online?
Oh, do we have to?
No.
Do we? Listen. Okay, listen. You You all know Mav and I speak out about a lot of things here. Always online, DRM, whatever you want to call it. People use all the things. Always online. I don't like it. Okay. Back when Xbox One first was announced, that was one of the reasons why I didn't go with Xbox One on top of TV was the always online that they promoted.
That was 10 years ago still, though.
That was 10 years ago. We are way past that. Now, can I still come out and say, hey, Arcane, really think you guys need to find a way to patch that so that if somebody only wants to play a single player, play Redfall in single player, that they can do so without having an online connection. Yes, I can say that. I can say that with a straight face and say I would love to see it happen. The funny part is here, Mav. The funny part here, Mav, is that because it's an Xbox first party title, people are ignoring the fact that this is also a jump in, jump out co-op game. Jez alluded to the fact that the way that the game is built could have determined that they needed to have this, right? Because they're going with dedicated servers, which is something that we always ask for. Which, again, I'm not a tech guy, but the way Jez was explaining it, it could have been the way that this game was built from the ground up, that it needs that always online connectivity.
If this was a single player only game, I would not expect this whatsoever, right? So
right. But that's why
there are other games don't have that.
But I was just going to bring this up, man. The only reason why Redfall is getting a bunch of shit right now is because it's Xbox first party. Yeah. Now, I have seen some Xbox guys come out and say this is wrong. Again, this is the bad side of an all digital future, and I don't disagree with you. Like, we saw that Xbox is going to remove a bunch of games from the 360 store this week, and you won't be able to get them anymore. This is the problem with the digital age, and I agree wholeheartedly with people. But, Mav, Hogwarts Legacy requires an online connection as well. And that is all single player, bro.
Yes.
But it's on the box. How many people spoke up about that this week? I saw maybe 2 people point it out when the picture went out of the box and it said online requirement. This is a true single player game. Why does Hogwarts Legacy got to have an online requirement? Like you just said, if Redfall was a straight single player game, you wouldn't expect it to have it.
Right. I don't know, man.
So, listen, I don't like it. I think it's stupid. I think, again, if you want to get down and dirty, the fact that the games aren't on the disc anymore and all we are buying with the disc is a license is wrong. I hate it. I think it's the stupidest stuff in the world. I don't think it's right. I think that the courts and consumer protection groups should be looking at this stuff more when it comes to the video game industry, not to tell game companies how to run their businesses like we see the FTC trying to do, but to actually protect consumers in the instance that you purchase a disc, that company goes out of business or decides to shut down its servers and you no longer have access to a game that you purchased. Because the idea is you can say all day long, well, you just know that you're buying the license. But the fact is when a consumer buys a physical copy on a disc, there's a certain level of expectancy there that I'm buying a physical version of that game and that I will always have access to that game. And that's not being taken care of these days at all. Yeah, this game industry has gotten away a lot there. Yeah. So
it's a false perception out there nowadays.
Correct.
Right. Most of the games don't even fit on the disc in which they're being sold.
Right.
They have 3 GB on the disc and you download like 70. Like it's crazy.
Correct.
You know what I mean? So an interesting thing here is like certain games, I don't know why they do it, why they don't. But for some reason it only gets brought up if it's like an exclusive game for like a certain platform. Yes. Shout out to Psycho for sending the Hogwarts thing to me in the DM also. But Hogwarts doesn't make sense why it needs to only be online. No, it seems like the only reason is because you have to download the patch. So it requires an internet connection to be able to play the game. If you don't have the ability to download the patch, you can't play the game. As simple as that. Which they're telling you, you need internet to download the game, right? And which is the same for a lot of games these days.
Correct.
It's a ton of them. So would I like to be in the old days and just be able to buy a disc and put it in and then just trust it's going to work, and I could live in a cabin in the woods, secluded from the world, you know? I don't
Right.
got to worry about nothing. Just me, myself, my crops out back, my weed farm. I got everything I ever could possibly need back here over in the woods by myself, and my little lanterns for electricity. I got my lights. I mean, I know electricity. Got a generator in case anything ever majorly happens. I got enough juice there to power my TV and my modem. To get my internet if I ever have to download a game. But I feel like there's nothing to connect the modem to, so I don't know why I do that, because I live out here in the damn woods. And why would I connect modem when I'm out here in the woods by myself? That doesn't make any damn sense. Bad.
No.
What are you ranting on about? I need to stop smoking too much of this weed that I'm growing out here in my weed farm out here in the wilderness by myself with no internet. Here, I'm just saying, we live. At some point, remember Xbox got shit for putting an Ethernet connection on a box way back in the day?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
At some point, in order for things to move forward with tech and things, sometimes we just have to trust the fact that that's the best way for them to do it. So, do I want to go back in the days where everything is only on a disc and playable physically, and that's the only way we can access it and all that cool stuff? Yeah, that'd be interesting, but it could also really suck ass. Okay?
Right.
Because that could mean, guess what? All these big online features, all these things, these big, massive games, these huge worlds that we get to explore, all that stuff is gone. We get Nintendo style stuff now. Only.
Right.
That's it now, right?
Right.
We get only third person narrative story driven stuff. We only get Nintendo style stuff. We don't have these big online multiplayer things and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I feel like some point it's just like you give and you take, right? And do I feel like we're going backwards with this move? No, I feel like actually we're going forwards, because guess what? The future is probably no hardware, period.
Right.
I mean, if you really want to look
Eventually,
at it,
yes.
20, 30 years from now, right?
Yeah.
Will we need a console? What are you going to put your disc in? Your fucking wall? Like, where's my put it in the mail slit in your fucking door? I mean, like, there's not going to be anywhere to put a fucking disc one day. You know what I mean? So it's just like, what are we really fighting about? Fighting over for our progress of technology and different ways of delivering access. And yeah, part of it sucks with the DRM stuff. I feel like there should be an aspect there to protect the consumers, and mainly over the one thing, stuff that happened with like Babylon's Fall.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Stuff like that. If you're selling a product, whether it's physical, whether it's digital, whether it's whatever, you should have an expectation to be able to use that, right? Going forward.
Yes.
And that's protections that can be put in place, right? That doesn't necessarily mean stuff can't be online. It just means that those protections have to be put in place for those games that are online.
Correct.
You know what I mean? If something's always online, if it has internet, if it requires licenses and all these different things, if it has licenses that could expire in a couple years or whatever, put these things in place to make sure digital purchasers of content, physical purchasers of content, but especially digital, because that's where most of the market is now, right? Like, I feel like everything's moving to digital. So what I would like for them to focus on is how to protect digital purchasers in the future from these kind of practices. That would feel like people that have issues with digital would feel more comfortable going into the digital world also, right?
Yeah.
Because guess what? Right now they're being lied to by that disc, right? It's the same thing. It just checks your license. That's it. It's a digital, it's a physical license key, right? That's all it is. You're putting that in. It's checking to make sure you own the game. That's it, right? Now, if they put things into place to protect us, we buy something knowing it's going to work 10, 20, 30 years from now. That's what should be done, right?
Yes.
Not force people to make offline things.
Right. And that's where the consumer protection groups are behind in technology. They're way behind in that. Technology has moved very fast and the law moves very, very slow, except for when you've got extremist groups running an FTC that wants to make its own rules. That's the only time we see movement that's trying to be ahead of the curve, quote unquote. But otherwise, we all fall behind. And again, it's moved so fast now. You know, the industry as a whole, I think, is what, 70% now digital. We got some places like the UK that's like 85% digital, something crazy like that. Listen, whatever the numbers are, we are moving into that digital age, and we don't have the protections that we should as consumers for the things that we are purchasing. And that is something that definitely has to be looked at. $2 super chat from Splendiferous. Splen, what's going on, brother? Don't like the online all the time thing. Hate that. And I agree with you, Splen. I agree with you. We're just kind of past the point of no return on that at this point. So now we got to start looking at what needs to be done to protect us as consumers. So, and I think that's the big thing. Like Matt brought up.
I don't know if some of these games don't always have to be online. Some of them just require you have an internet connection. Right.
Right. For that initial check or whatever the case may be. Steele said piracy would be worse, and we wouldn't get the games that we have now. Sucks, but the internet has become necessary with gaming in most cases. And Steele, I agree with how everything's set up right now, and how the game companies also need to protect their IP from piracy, which is a whole nother battle over on the PC side of things, obviously. Yeah, it's kind of true. Again, the digital age is new frontier for everybody. As
figuring it out right now.
Yeah, as it's exploded, that battle can continue forward. But you're right in a lot of ways. No matter how much we hate it, it is what it is. We're past that point. Yeah. So
we also got a $10 super chat from Alvin.
Oh, okay.
Again, Alvin.
You'd have to do another one, Alvin.
Yeah, I know. Appreciate you, Alvin.
Alvin, you could just put it in there.
He just said, nah, it was nothing, LOL. Just praising Redfall like usual. Enjoying the show. Appreciate you, bro. Thanks, Alvin. He's just $10 casual conversation. You're amazing.
To say, I'm just praising Redfall as always. I can't wait. I can't wait too, Alvin. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for that. 100%. All right. Let's get this party moving here as my phone got all screwed up here. But this week, Mav, let's jump into the Halo stuff. Let's jump into this. Dive deep into it. Again, I know you're having coughing fits, so I hate to have you talk a lot, but obviously Halo's your baby, and this is a big topic. So this week, as everybody knows, everybody's favorite person, Jason Schreier, had another report out of Bloomberg, and he kind of kickstarted this whole thing off this week. Again, love or hate Jason Schreier, whatever you feel about the guy, he does do reporting when it suits his needs. Okay, so he does dig. He's an ambulance chaser, in my opinion. He looks for the bad things to write about because he knows that gets the most readers. Which, again, it is what it is. It's his life. He's got to fall asleep every night. I don't. But this is what he does. And we knew he was digging into 343. I said that if there's a book to be done about this, which there should be. I don't care if it's 20 years from now. I want a book on the Halo Infinite development with people who were there. I want a book. I want to know exactly what was going on internally at this time. But he brought up a report, said Microsoft's 343 Industries will still make Halo games despite rumors to the contrary, but with mass layoffs, at least 95, so that number went up again, 95 people, an engine pivot to Unreal, and a focus only on multiplayer for the near future. 343 is hitting the reset button. Now, I'm not going to read a story out of Bloomberg. He did a lot of in-depth work on it, but Clobriel kind of highlighted things. The co-developed Project Tatanka multiplayer with certain affinity is now going to run on the Unreal Engine, and it could be actually expanding more than just the Battle Royale, which was originally the plan. So this could be a bigger game than just a Battle Royale. Unreal Engine to be explored for future Halo titles. And then Jez, I believe I've got Jez's article in here too. Hold on for a second here. Yeah. So then Jez wrote an article for Windows Central, which I'll read real quick. Shout out to Jez Corden, of course, of Windows Central, and also with the Xbox 2 with the one and only Randall Thor. Let's see here. Notably, Halo is moving to Epic Games' Unreal Engine. Sources familiar with the Halo Infinite's development has reported that its engine Slipspace caused many issues for developers due to its aging code. This includes the delay of multiplayer modes like Extraction and Assault. The first project built on Unreal will be Project Tatanka, a codename being developed by both 343 and Certain Affinity. Originally, Tatanka was believed to be a battle royale mode for Halo Infinite. 343 has also paused the active development of campaign-style story content for the time being. Developers are prototyping and pitching new Unreal-based Halo projects, but many of those developers have been cut. All right, Mav, let's get into this. We talked about this. We've been talking about this since, my God, before Halo came out, before Halo Infinite, when we got the delay and we started hearing about some of the issues behind the scenes at 343. Now, again, many in this community don't like talking about this stuff, said we didn't know anything. Everything was fine at 343. Slipspace was the best it could be. It was great. You all see, we had the developer saying everything's great. We had Phil saying it's looking good. We got the Craig moment, got the delay. We talked about all that during that time. Then we finally got the launch. The launch was beautiful. We got the multiplayer beta ahead of that, which was, my God, one of the most polished multiplayer betas ever. We get the launch. Everybody loves the campaign, or most people love the campaign. Gets great reviews, glowing reviews, multiplayer glowing reviews. And then...
disaster.
Yeah. And then, like, the whole illusion kind of just drifted apart, right? It was like a mirage, right? Like, all of a sudden, you got to see... It was like going to a magic show, Mav, and getting to see the tricks and then them not being as good as they once were, because then there was nothing behind there, right? It was empty. It was an empty wasteland behind that initial upfront launch and multiplayer. And we've went through all that. We're not going to rehash that. But during that time, a couple months ago, a gentleman, Sean W., I believe it is, came out with a rumor that he heard that Halo was moving to Unreal. And of course, it blew up the internet. Jez first dismissed it completely, of course, because the guy did a whole video. He was very good at explaining what was rumor, what he, had as far as the facts go, or as far as where the stuff was coming from, what was completely just salt worthy. He did a great job, but people, of course, blew it up, attacked him. Jez dismissed the whole story. And then Jez came back, I think, within a day and said, well, maybe not. So this has been going around for a long time, folks. Now we had all the layoffs at Microsoft 343, all these layoffs, 95 plus people at 343. That includes contractors. And then, of course, Pierre Heinz taking over as the lead on 343. We had the engineer of the Slipspace engine leave. We had Bonnie Ross leave. All this stuff has been happening. And then this week, Schreier comes out with this report saying multiple sources confirming. Jez backs up Schreier, says he confirmed with his own sources that this is what's happening. Schreier's report also included that there was a kind of internal war between the teams of keeping Slipspace or moving to Unreal. And it sounds like that Unreal won out in December of last year, just a month and a half ago. That Unreal finally won out, and that they made the bold decision, Matt, that going forward, and obviously Certain Affinity is going to be affected because they were working on this Tatanka, this Battle Royale, that going forward, that Unreal might be what's next for Halo. All right, Mav, you're an OG Halo guy. It's your favorite game. It's your favorite franchise of all time. It's been a wild, rough, frustrating ride for you through all of this whole entire time. Kind of thought things were getting smoothed out. We got Forge. Some stuff was dropping for Forge, all that kind of stuff. But then these past 2 weeks, a lot has changed. Where are you at with this? Are you excited about the potential of Unreal? I know you're going to go, so I won't spoil it. I'll let you say it. Are you excited for the potential of Unreal? Are you scared? Or do you think that at the end of the day, there's a way through here? That 343 can find a new kind of rebirth for Halo at some point.
Yeah. Oh man, this is gonna be we're gonna talk about this for a little bit, guys. First, I want to start with Schreier, okay? Because the funny thing was, right after this 343 layoffs happened, there was somebody that came out and gave a lot of information, right?
Mhm.
And a lot of us talked about that information, right? Schreier came out immediately after, like the day after that, and said that this was false or something like that.
Mhm.
But then now Schreier's posting his own information that
I forgot about that piece, by the way, Matt. Thanks for bringing that
that
up. I forgot that
corroborates
Schreier-
everything that original person said.
Yes.
That, remember, everybody was like, see, there's no problems at 343, like when Schreier said that. But now Schreier's doubling down on the fact that
totally forgot about that.
Yeah, it's crazy. He just pulled a, you're not allowed to be the insider. I'm going to take that information, make you look bad.
It's not real.
I'm going to come out
real.
a couple weeks later, and now I'm going to put the information out there for everybody that pretty much is almost the exact same things that you said. I found that very interesting, right? The only thing that Schreier said originally when he was trying to deny the other guy's rumors, when he said it wasn't true, was that they cut campaign content. Well, but what did Schreier just say here? He said that they laid off most of the people that are doing pitches for campaign content.
Yep.
Isn't that what pretty much the other guy said? The other guy also said that Staten had made a pitch.
Yeah.
For planned content that the new 343 leadership decided not to roll with, right? Staten goes and now moves back to his old role back with Microsoft Publishing, right? So I got to call out Schreier here for a little bit of hypocrisy and being a little bit of a journalist that is saying that you're the only one that can call things out and put the negative spins on 343.
This is the mainstream media versus everybody else. We're the elite. It's not real until we say it.
I mean, we were all talking about this stuff, and they were like, "No, you guys wrong." But then now Schreier's saying, "Well, we were all right because of the other stuff." Right? Like, man, he is an interesting cat. Again, using specific words to try and twist things. We saw through it right away because we still believed everything that the other reports had said, which again was corroborated now by Schreier. Going into that, originally they said no campaign content was cut, right? So I'm just going to go into a deep dive into history. Chris Lee said there was a 10-year plan, right? I've seen some people say, no, the 10-year plan was for the engine. No, the 10-year plan was actually for Halo Infinite. And I even have his quotes, right? So Chris Lee was the creative director. He did an interview with IGN back in 2020. This was shortly before they were about to do their big showcase that ended up causing this game to get delayed, right? At that point, he talked about Halo Infinite as the start of the next 10 years for Halo, and then building that as we go for the fans in the community. They want Infinite to grow over time versus going to numbered titles and having all the segmentation that they had before. They were planning on Infinite being a platform, not just for multiplayer, but for single player content. Hence why I was very disappointed about this layoff of the campaign team, right? This is why I was very disappointed with that, because that was something I expected more story content to happen sooner than later, right? When I found out that they were not releasing or even working on campaign content anymore, it's like, what happened, right? Shit fell left and right within 343. I mean, it's just falling apart after this game launched. They couldn't figure out pipelines. They couldn't figure out who's going to make what, how to make what, how to fix this, how to fix that. And originally, I was one of the people that said I didn't want Halo Infinite to be delayed.
Right.
For me, it was campaign, multiplayer. We got the main cornerstones, Forge and co-op. I can have those later. I was content with waiting on those, and I still was, right? But the issue is they forgot about the rest of the game, the rest of the content, right? Everything became, we need to get Forge out, we need to get co-op out. They forgot about the live service elements, and they let the community die, right? They let the community die out to where it's one of, we looked at the numbers like last week in DMs, Pong.
Yeah.
And the the numbers compared to other shooters out there for live player counts, is insanely low. Right. And that's not, I love Halo. It's just the reality of the situation. Okay. The numbers are insanely low for the player counts compared to all the other games out there. We were talking with Steel Rain and DM, Psycho, a bunch of people, right? So this is why we're in the situation we're in now, right? Why they've moved away from their investment. We talked about if something's not successful, companies usually move on from it.
Yep.
Hence why I was worried about PSVR and all that kind of stuff. We talked about that earlier, right?
Correct.
And I feel like that's the situation we're in with Halo. Halo Infinite was a however we want to look at it, even if we love the game, to Microsoft, the Xbox, Halo Infinite did not meet the expectations that they had set out for it before when they envisioned this game, right?
Right.
It is not that future of Halo. It is not this 10-year plan of more content, platform that's going to sustain us for the Halo content for this generation. It is not that anymore. It's unfortunate. I wanted it to be that. It's not what we got because they didn't have any content after the game came out. 6-month seasons. And even when those seasons came out, was starving for content within those seasons. 2 maps, right? 2 maps in like a year on an arena-based shooter game. You can't have that. The game died because of it. The game died. The community went away. They had other pressing issues with major flaws within the code of the game, with the online network of the game that was causing issues with competitive players, right? Where they weren't able to feel like they were getting a fair experience. They admittedly come out and said that they can't work on that because they have other priorities right now, that they know it's an issue. Yep. That went on for months still, right? Is it in an okay place now? Yes, because they finally got Forge out. There's a community developed of community-based players that are more into the Forge stuff and all these things. March, we're still going to have Halo Infinite content come out. They come out and said they're still going to support the multiplayer. Yeah, Halo Infinite multiplayer side could have a resurgence, right? It could completely have a resurgence. I think it's going to be in a good place. I have faith in that. I still have to, right? But I love Halo for more than just the multiplayer.
Right.
I love Halo for the story, the world building, the universe that they have built. And what happened for me is I had faith in this vision that they had. They just killed it. So they killed it for the reasons of they aren't going to be able to get the return on it. Right?
Nope. Yep.
So now what do we do? Okay. So they're figuring out how to fix their pipelines. Fixing their pipelines by moving to Unreal. Maybe that's the right move. I don't know. Right? Maybe that's the right move. Part of me thinks that it's the right move because I feel like they've seen the issues that they've had. Right? Then a part of me wonders if Halo will ever be the same. Right? So there's 2 sides to this. At this point, I care more about Halo existing than not.
Right.
And if this is what it takes for Halo to exist and move forward, then I'm okay with it. Right?
Right.
I'm okay with what the future is that they are trying to push forward with this Unreal because I want Halo to exist. I don't want to be in a gaming world where there's no Halo. I love Halo that much.
100%.
Right? I feel like they obviously see something with their own infrastructure, with their own pipelines, all those things. That is a problem that has led to this. So they're trying to address it. Do I automatically think Unreal Engine is the magic fix for everything? No. I feel like that is a thing that's out there that everybody wants every game to move to Unreal, right? Because all of a sudden Unreal is, it's this amazing engine. You can do all these amazing things. It's more universally used, all these things. Guess what? There's Unreal games out there that got problems too.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, for sure.
So I don't want every game to move to Unreal,
No.
Hopefully, they can use the coalition's influence and other things as well, and they can get on track using this engine, right? Um, but you're also telling a lot of devs who have worked within an engine for a certain long time to now all of a sudden start using something different, right? So it's not just all candies and rainbows out there. I feel like with this move, I feel like there's going to be a big adjustment. Second thing, if you're making traditional Halo experiences with Unreal, regardless of what everybody says, this will take a lot of work and adjustment within the engine to make it feel like Halo.
And it may never.
It may never.
Correct.
Which is why they didn't use it the last time, right?
Correct.
Now, yes, it's very maneuverable, but there's certain aspects to certain games. Certain engines make certain games feel the same way, right? A lot of it comes down to dev talent and how they make games as well. I understand. But there's certain threads of the DNA within these engines about the way they do things or whatever that makes certain games feel certain ways, right?
Yes.
And Halo's always had a certain feel. One of the reasons because it's been made using the same tech. It's carried through. So for me, what I have to ask myself, the fear of Halo never being the same, is it what's more important, right? And I feel like this was the last hurrah. This was the last attempt for them to bring back Halo in its current form, right?
Right.
And it didn't work. It worked as far as a great game. It worked as far as all these other things, but it failed within Microsoft to them, right? To them, it was a failure. Clearly. So if all else is failed, then what else? Try something new, right? And even if it's not the same, maybe it'll still be something I love. And that's what I got to hope for at this point, man, because I don't know, like the Unreal and Tatanka, like whatever was going on with that with certain affinity and 343, I have faith in certain affinity's abilities. They are a very talented developer. They work a lot of multiplayer things. If this is evolving past Tatanka, what is it evolving into? We don't know. I found that very intriguing, right? I always felt like if they were going experimenting with Unreal, doing it in different experiences was the way to go, right? Other than the main line, because you have your core. People understand the core Halo players expect a certain feel with the game, right? There's a certain aspect. Halo Infinite nailed it to a level that shocked the hell out of me. How they were able to pull off Halo Infinite in that Halo feel, bringing it to a new game, making it feel new again and refreshing, but still keeping that classic feel. Do I think Unreal can do the same thing? I don't know. I'm not a tech head, right? I'm not a tech head, but I do know one thing. I've played a shit ton of games in my life. I'm a grazer like you. We play a lot of games. You start to get familiar with certain aspects to games and you start to identify certain things, right? So I understand, like from a player's perspective, sometimes what an engine can mean to how a game feels. Creation engine, people, could they do that in Unreal? Could they make Starfield like it is in Unreal? I don't know. I don't know.
I was gonna bring that up.
I don't know. So for me, it's you always have to wonder: can they recreate the same feeling that these games, this vibe, this feeling that they give to you, if it's made from different ingredients, right? Made from a different palette, made from a different artist tools, right? I don't know. It does make me concerned that we may never get that experience again, right? But if we get good experiences and they're Halo and they tell stories and stuff that I love, ultimately that's what matters the most. So do whatever the hell you got to do. Just please get it right and make it good. And let's have some positivity moving forward from 343 and the teams around them to build the best Halo experiences possible. However the hell you got to do it. I don't care how you do it. Just make Halo what it should be and what it can be. And I don't want to hear any more stuff coming out from Microsoft, from Xbox, from stuff about broken promises, about broken like game aspects, about uh, lack of content, all these things. It's all coming because these things happen, right? These things have happened time and time again. We need to be moving on past that point where Halo is a pillar again. Halo needs to be a pillar. And I feel like it can be. I feel like it should be. I feel like it needs to be. And we'll see if this is the right move to get it there. Ultimately, I don't know. It's up in the air. I have faith. Do whatever you got to do, guys. Just make it good, okay?
I love it. You said a lot of truths in there, Matt. And even as the casual Halo fan that I am, I've said multiple times that I don't want a video game industry without Halo existing as well. That's, again, even as somebody who doesn't have that passion for the franchise, it's a pillar. You don't want, it may not be what it once was. It may never be what it once was. And I can safely say that chances are it's not going to be the Halo of old ever again. The industry has grown. The industry has moved on. There's more content now than ever before. And again, it was a special time when Halo came around and changed a whole lot and set new bars for what could be done, especially in the console space in this industry. But even saying all that, again, I want Halo to exist in some form or fashion. And I think that the universe has a lot more to give. The best analogy I can give to how you feel about Halo, Mav, and where it sits right now is my same feelings for Star Wars and what Disney did to it, right? I don't want a world where Star Wars doesn't exist. I was excited when Lucas sold it off to Disney, right? Because I said, okay, no more waiting a decade for Lucas to decide to make another freaking Star Wars movie. Now Disney's in charge. Now Disney's going to make Star Wars content. Well, that Star Wars content didn't feel like Star Wars to me. Didn't at all. And I'm in that spot now, especially the mainline stuff was a failure to me from Disney's side. Just like Halo, again, right at this point, right now, it isn't what everybody, the Halo fans expected from it. But I still want Star Wars to exist. And I can hope that there's experiences that come out of it that are good, like Rogue One for me in Star Wars. Rogue One, shout out to Gary Whitta, who wrote it, did a fantastic job. Closest thing to a Lucas Star Wars film that we've gotten, in my opinion, out of the new Star Wars, right? So I did get something good out of it that I never would have gotten necessarily had Lucas owned it. So I understand completely where you're at, man. And I've come to the grips that Star Wars maybe never be what it once was back in the day. And again, different time, different completely everything. It happens. But it still has to exist, and Halo still has to exist. I will say this about Unreal, and you bring up fantastic points, Mav, about Unreal, that a lot of people think it's the magic bullet. A lot of people talk about it that way. Of course, it's exciting. It's accessible. Indie devs can get a hold of it. AAA devs get a hold of it. It's that level. So we never know what kind of experience we're going to get on Unreal 5. But it's not the magic bullet because there's talent behind it. Now, what I will say is that they've decided to go this route, Mav. 343 had a lot of problems due to the contractors, right? They bring contractors in for 18 months. It would take them 6 to 12 months to get up to speed on Slipspace. They get a few months of work in, and then their contract would be up. And the turnover was ridiculous. And people didn't like working on Slipspace. These people, when you go through school nowadays, you're not learning Slipspace. You're not learning Blam. You're learning Unreal. You're learning Unity. You're learning all these other big engines out there. So if you're going to rebuild a studio, Mav, and you don't this time around, for the future of Halo to be successful, we know that a stable 343 is necessary. A stable team that can work on Halo is necessary for the future to survive. So if you're going to have to rebuild the studio, which is exactly what's going to happen, and you're going to look at doing that, using the Unreal Engine is going to allow you to bring in more talent. And at the end of the day, the talent behind the engine is what's going to determine the success or failure of Halo in the future. But you're going to be able to bring in and hire permanent positions now, because there will be people, both experienced and unexperienced people, that want to come in and work on a new Halo game. And when you say, oh, by the way, we're now using Unreal, well, the level of interest from those people searching jobs in one of the most competitive industries out there for talent right now are going to say, oh, okay, I know Unreal. Let's go. I can do Unreal. Let's do this. You're going to have a much bigger pool of people that you can pull from and hopefully pull some of the best out of that pool to ensure that Halo survives, to ensure whatever form it takes down the road, even if it doesn't grasp that original Halo feel, even if the engine does change how the feel goes, maybe you can make something fresh and new in Unreal with the talent behind it that still says, no, this is Halo, and maybe rebirths it into a new form.
Yeah.
Where even people like you can still look back and say, I really love how the Halos used to feel, but I'm good with this.
Yeah,
This
100%.
is good, right? Right? 100%. And that there is something there to still love about it and maybe even bring new people back into the franchise again. So I think that that's the exciting part. And as I've said before, when all this stuff started going down, maybe this is what everybody needed at Microsoft, Xbox 343 across the board. Sometimes you have to kind of have to destroy everything to rebuild again, because it gives you a fresh slate and you can work from scratch and you can try new ideas. You can have a certain affinity, say, hey, you know what, you guys are working on this battle royale, but we're going to switch. What do you guys got? Maybe certain affinity has been having some campaign stories in their heads. Maybe they've had a bigger idea for Tatanka than the battle royale, but at the time, Microsoft and Xbox were like, no, we just need the battle royale from you guys. Maybe now they've been greenlit to go, no, go try that stuff you want to go do. And again, as I said before, when they put up the bat signal and they license Halo out to other, which we don't know how this is all going to work, but if they decide to license Halo out and just put out the bat signal and say, hey, anybody want to work on a Halo game? Who the hell knows what we're going to get from it? Maybe we get some really great stuff. We might get some bad stuff, but maybe we get some really great stuff that never would have happened if we didn't get to this point. As sad as this point is for all the people, all the Halo fans, 343, all the employees that lost their jobs, right? Again, there's the human toll can't be talked about enough here. These are human beings that lost their jobs, that it didn't work out, that the investment failed, and Microsoft as a corporation made a decision to go a different route. But maybe with the clean slate, there's some different experiences in this universe that opens it up, that expands it further out. And all of a sudden we look 15 years from now, and all of a sudden we look back and say, maybe that was the best thing that could have happened at that time. Yeah. Maybe through all the bad stuff, maybe this really was something that needed to happen to get us to this point. So that's my hopes for it. Again, it's like you said, I understand completely what you're saying. Even as a casual Halo fan, I get it. You could lose the feeling. You brought up Starfield and Unreal. I was thinking that to myself while we were talking about this today and before too. Like I was trying to picture like, okay, well, this is kind of the same as if Todd Howard came out and said, yeah, we're moving to Unreal for the next Elder Scrolls 6. I'd be like, huh?
Right.
What? How's that gonna work? How's that gonna feel? Like that's not gonna be the creation engine. You created the creation engine specifically to do certain things. What are you gonna do with Unreal? How is this gonna pan out? So the uncertainty is certainly there, but I think there's a lot of signs for hope, and the fact that they haven't completely shut the doors or mothballed it like a lot of companies might mothball Halo for a long time. It doesn't sound like they're doing that at all. It sounds like they're going to push a reset button and start over again. And they're not going to wait. I mean, yeah, it's going to take a while before we ever see a mainline Halo, I imagine. But at the same time, they're not just going to push pause completely and say, nope, you guys are going into retirement for X amount of years. That's good news as well. So I think we're going to get something good out of this, Matt, but I do feel for us.
I do think there's something like with just the conversation of engines, right?
Yes.
That I've seen a lot, like everybody wants everything done, you move to Unreal, right? And I honestly feel like that's not the best thing for the industry. Like,
no,
I feel like
no,
there's a reason these games have been utilized in, like, for example, okay, Crytek originally made Far Cry, okay, they made the Cry engine, okay, they advanced it more, okay, when Ubisoft took it over, they took that and they improved upon it and made the Dunia engine, right? Its still roots are based back in that old engine. Okay.
Correct.
You can look at like Assassin's Creed, right? They've used the same stuff for a long time, right?
Call of Duty is built off the id Tech,
there's
which
certain
is Source.
there's certain threads, right?
Yes.
That maintain a
DNA.
certain familiarity aspect, a
Right.
DNA, right, to
Yep.
these games, right?
Yeah.
Creation engine, you got Elder Scrolls 5. There's a reason those games are entirely different games, right? But they
Yep.
also have a familiarity to them when you're
Correct.
playing them, right? You can look at the games made from Avalanche and stuff out there, like the Apex engine and stuff. Like,
Yes.
there's several different. Second Extinction feels a lot like that. Other was it that mech game that's out there that they made also.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah,
The gunplay, everything.
Yep.
There's certain threads that go beyond just the game, that specific game itself. And I feel like often it's like people say, well, you can recreate that in Unreal because Unreal's, can do anything. Yeah, but there's also a thread. A lot of Unreal games have a certain familiarity to them as well, right?
Yes.
So, it doesn't mean it's not possible, right? It doesn't mean it's not possible. But at that point, like, if it takes that much work, like, to try and recreate something that was just possible in another engine, like, I'd rather them, honestly, like, going forward, I would rather them make the best Unreal Halo game they can make.
Right.
Right?
Correct.
Not try and recreate the slip space,
chase that old
Blam engine Halo, because then you're gonna maybe be in between two worlds there, and maybe it's not the best thing. So, like, for me, almost with this move of potentially moving to Unreal for them, I have to, like, it's like closing this chapter for me.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
It's like this chapter for me. I have to accept that Halo Infinite was the apex of it. Halo Infinite, that multiplayer will live on for a long time. I get to enjoy it and experience it. Halo at its, like, prime engine phase, right, with multiplayer and stuff. More content, I'll get back into it, right? But for me right now, going forward, I feel like the unknown is more exciting than the known.
Correct.
Right? I'm excited about the different possibilities that may open up with this, right? And that's what excites me more than trying to use the engine to copy something else that's already been in existence for 20 years, right? So I think, from my perspective, I hope this is a new chapter going forward, and it's not always trying to play that chasing game of trying to recapture the magic, right? I feel like they need to build new magic here, right?
Yeah.
And Halo has a lot of elements within it that is great to build upon, because that universe, for me, is the main reason I love it, right?
Yep.
And there can do so many different things with it. So just go crazy, put a big ass team behind it. Whatever the next story, I'm talking about the next story thing, right? Put a big ass team behind it. Put the best engineers, everything, and you make the biggest, baddest ass, most Halo fucking thing ever. Whether it's in slip space, whether it's in Unreal, whatever it is, the team has to deliver, right?
Yes.
100%. And that's true with any engine, right? So, I'm hoping for the best. I got hopes for it. We'll see whenever it comes, whenever we get any news on what's actually next, right? And maybe the saddest thing for me, though, it will be some time. It will be some time.
Yes.
Maybe Tatanka sooner than other things, but we'll see. Alvin hit us with a $5 super chat. Appreciate you, Alvin. Said, when Columbus reached the New World, he burned his ships, so his men were well motivated. Phil, Matt, and Pierre just did that. I have faith. Yeah, a shakeup sometimes is what's necessary, right? And to change the culture of a studio, sometimes requiring, new leadership, new people, right? And new blood. See if they can't get that on track, right? So we'll see.
100.
Appreciate you.
100%. Yeah, appreciate you, Alvin, always. Shout out to Guardian Black, who just showed up. Guardian Black, great to see you. You might have been in there for a while, but sorry, again, limited technology wise. So if I didn't see you earlier, great to see you. Spooky, the Breathtaking Gamer is in the house. Great to see you, Spooky, as well. Showing up. The Kato's in here. Polly Bob is still hanging out with us. Talos Re, lots of good conversations. RWK88, I see you. A Rocket Warrior Gamecast. What's going on, sis? Great to have you in here as well. Rain G4 slid on through here. Ed Enzo, Erodimus, I see you in here. Listen, Jerrold Mack, what up, brother? Great to have you in here as well. ShaneG, I see you. Thank you for being here, Shane. Appreciate you. Speaking of Unreal, Mav, let's get into Coalition here.
Okay.
As we wind down. Let's get into Coalition a little bit. We're already been going for 2.5 hours. Holy cow, man. Jesus, our conversations are crazy. Just like stealing eyes. So Coalition, conflicting reports this week. It was kind of crazy. It all centered around Grub.
Yeah, Grub's been on fire lately, man.
He has been. Grub's been on big time fire lately. So Grub started the week by going on the Xbox 2+1 Patreon only conversation with Jez and Rand. Their special show they do, which will become available next week. But of course, people are listening in. People report out what he said. And one of the reports came out that he said the Coalition's smaller project, that new IP that we heard that they had working on to kind of test out Unreal 5. Again, Coalition, masters of the Unreal Engine. They were testing Unreal Engine 5 and kind of doing a smaller project. We heard about that, what, year and a half ago, maybe something around that time.
And they had actually made their own post saying that they had multiple projects in the works.
Yes.
And then I think Grub originally had said it was, or maybe it was Jez Corden, I can't remember which one.
That was great.
Said that there was a new IP.
New IP.
Smaller.
Not
game.
Gears related.
Right.
Not Gears related. So we knew about this, and then so Grub said that was on the Xbox 2+1. He said that they were that was looking like it was going to be on track for possibly a 2024 release. So that news came out. Well, then Grub went back and talked to his sources again, and this just came out. Was it today or yesterday? I think it was today. I don't remember for sure. Today or yesterday? Today. Yeah, it was today. Grub went back today and checked with his sources, and he was on his own podcast, Giant Bomb, where he now works for, and stated that that the smaller project that he was talking about had been canceled, and another project had been canceled within Coalition, and that was part of the layoffs that we saw, because remember, the layoffs not only affected 343, but the Coalition, along with Bethesda, were also mentioned, but we didn't really hear any specifics. But Jeff confirmed that today that he heard that those layoffs were due to those two projects being canceled, and that now it was full go on Gears 6 Mav, and that they had started potentially a few months ago, that Gears 6 is now in production, and that will be the next game we see from the Coalition. It's been a while, Mav. We knew the Coalition was going to take time off while Unreal Engine 5 came out. We knew that they were going to get their hands dirty with it. We saw them do help out with the Matrix demo, which was an eye-opening experience. I have not deleted that again. If you have it on your hard drive, don't delete it because you can't get it back again. But if you have it, you got it forever. So the Matrix demo, they worked on that. And then again, we heard about these smaller projects. But here we are, Mav. Gears 5 is what? When did Gears 5 come out? Refresh my memory.
28? Was it 8?
18?
Maybe
18?
2017 to 18? I gotta look it up.
Somewhere in there?
I'll look it up.
Yeah. So it's already been a long time since we've had a game.
19. Wow, that's 2019.
19. Wow, 19. Okay.
Well, it's not that long.
Way
it's only
off.
been 4
Sorry,
years.
chat.
It's only a little over 3 years, actually.
3 years. But if they're just starting Gear 6 full-fledged now, Coalition are masters, Coalition are wizards, but they're, Unreal Engine 5 is still new. Obviously, they're going to know the ins and outs more than most people will. But we might not see Gear 6 at the earliest, 2026, 2027, somewhere in that neighborhood, if they really 3 to 4 years.
Well, between 4, 5, and 6, they took a couple years between each one.
Couple years in between, right?
So if they have toned down their other projects and they're full bore and full production on Gear 6, means they may have already had a lot of the pre-production done.
Sure.
And
storyboarded it.
So a lot of times when you hear these studios are in full production, it means that they're like in massive building phase, and like,
Yeah.
it may not be as long as we think with that. I
2025.
Coalition, right?
Yeah,
I
they're
feel
great.
like
They're wizards.
I feel
so
like they could get this out by 2025 potentially.
2025.
Right. I mean, just because we don't know how much work goes into pre-production phase on some of these stuff, but knowing how fast they are and how quickly they were able to do stuff between 4 and 5, right?
Yeah.
I would think that full production now means that they have all of this year, they have all next
Yep.
year, you know what I mean? And then maybe early 2025, maybe late
Holiday.
2025, something like that, potentially. Could it be even before then? I don't know,
Sure.
because when did it say they went to full production? Last
Right.
year sometime, right?
Yeah, a few months ago at least, I think.
So they could have already been in full production for a little while
Mhm.
with not even as many guys, right? Or people, developers on board, because they were working on the other projects. So maybe this was something that they just said, "Hey, let's just go all in on this game and let's get it out." 2020, late 2024, 2025. Who knows, man? Um,
Yeah.
the
The
sad thing is,
exact time frame, according to Grub, was over the last year or so. So potentially, yeah, maybe
yeah,
they started earlier last year.
it's,
Maybe.
if so, just based on
Yeah.
how fast they've been in the past and how talented they are, I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know if we'll be like one of those like perfect dark situations, or
Yeah. No.
you
No,
know
I
what I
don't see
mean,
that. No.
or
No.
just
A
anything like
Fable,
that,
Terrific Dark, nothing
right?
like that. No.
So
No.
I think that once they enter full production, I feel like you're probably a couple years away, maybe. And if
Mhm.
they entered last year, who knows, right? But I
Right.
feel like the sad thing is still, you know,
Yep.
one thing I always wanted from the coalition to see what they could do
Mhm.
besides Gears, and this
Yeah.
goes from before they were the coalition, right?
Right.
When they had when Xbox had announced that they were Black Tusk
Acquiring the team.
Studio,
Yep.
they announced Black Tusk, and that they were going to be making they showed the tech demo of a game that
Yep.
they were working on, or of a tech demo that they had worked on, and it was like this city at night, and they had like these spy looking guys crawling up the side of the building and stuff. I was like, who's this? Are these going to be the guys making some kind of like really badass Splinter Cell type thing on
Right.
Xbox? And then it got announced that Xbox had acquired Gears from Epic, and then they had brought in Rod Ferguson. They had changed the name of the studio to Coalition, and they were now a Gears studio, right?
Correct.
Um, so which was exciting for them at the time, and I'm sure it's still exciting for them to be that, right?
Yep.
They're some of the best out there, especially out of Unreal Engine. And I wonder though, like I always wondered, like what else they could have created, what else they could make, right?
Mhm. Yep.
And because of how talented they are, and I really wanted to see that to
Yeah.
come through at some point. And will we ever see it? I don't know now, right? I mean, maybe eventually down the road, but Gear 6 has got to come out first. And yeah, disappointing in some ways,
Mhm.
but also more excited for Gear 6 because it has, even though it's been since only three and a half,
Four, three and a
three
half
three
years.
years and some months,
Yep.
it feels like a long time without Gears
It
already,
does.
right?
It does. Yep.
Um, it feels like if Gears was announced like this year, Gear 6,
Mhm.
in like a big way, there'd be a lot of hype behind it because they've had
Sure.
that space, which we
Yeah.
said they needed back then.
Oh
We
yeah.
said they needed to take some time with Gears and they needed some space because the brand wasn't as, even though it was still big, it wasn't as big as it was
Because
originally
those
with the
damn
original
whiny kids.
trilogy,
Because
right?
those damn whiny kids
So like maybe give it some
ruin
space,
everything.
put some more effort and then make the next one bigger and better, and like make people miss it for a little while, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like
Agreed.
that's happening here. So maybe 2025. I'll put 2025 on it. I wish I knew what the hell the other game was that they were making.
Yes, I'd
Um,
like to see it. I wish it would when a studio cancels a game, I would like them to put out something. And
yeah.
just say, hey,
Well, sometimes we
I
get
know
that stuff
I know
like
that would be
10 years
awful,
later
but
with like a leak, you know?
right, right, exactly. That's what I would. There is a God. That's what I forgot to do this week too. I was gonna go find the tweet, the feed. There is a place out there that hunts down games that were canceled that never came to fruition. I talked about this
Uh-huh.
in Living Split Screen with Steel, and I forgot to go back and try to find the tweet thread so I could find out this group that does that, because there was a why it got brought up is because we were talking we were talking different. We were talking something on Saturday, and people were bringing up Dead Rising, how much they wanted Dead Rising to come back. And there was this tweet thread of this group that goes finds these things, and I had just so happened to read it the week prior, that Capcom, there was a group of devs within Capcom back in the day that was actually working in conjunction with Microsoft on a new Dead Rising game, and they were making it as a competitor to The Last of Us.
Ooh, what?
Yeah, yes. And this was supposedly the thread said this was unknown to the Capcom higher ups. The Capcom higher ups had nixed it. This group of developers within Capcom loved the idea and continued to work on it. And it was going to be an Xbox exclusive. And then the higher ups found out that they had been working on it and basically fired everybody involved.
What?
Yes.
Where is that? I mean, I would love to see that.
I gotta
thread.
find it. I gotta find it. I gotta find the thread. Yeah, I gotta find the thread. But crazy stuff.
Truck assault on this one, everybody. But if that happened, like that'd be crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy. And this would have been during the time that we heard that Microsoft basically had Capcom had the offer on their desk, and they just needed to sign it from Microsoft, and Microsoft was going to acquire Capcom. This would have been during that time. But think about how crazy that is. So anyway, sorry, side tangent. But what you just said brought that in my head.
Like, make it happen, Xbox. Go back and get Capcom guys. Find that team. Find those guys. They got canned. Form a new studio with them. Right,
exactly. It would have been freaking amazing.
But they wouldn't have had Capcom's engine.
No,
which would have
they would have had the RE or whatever they were using. It was Dead Rising RE. I think it was.
I don't know, man.
Can't remember.
Probably
but yeah, no, I'd love to see it. You actually answered what I was going to ask you. That's how in tune we are. So you already went into it, and I agree with you, Mav. I'm disappointed. I know there's people out here that say 343 is a Halo studio. They can't make anything but Halo. Coalition is Gears. That's what they were hired to do. That's what they were formed to do. That's all they do is Gears. I don't want them doing anything else. I'm the opposite side of things. I'm with you, Mav. All these teams, no matter what they work on, they're creative geniuses. All these devs are in this industry because they're naturally creative people. So I always would have an interest in seeing what a group like the Coalition, who have mastered the Unreal Engine, there's no doubt about it, what outside of Gears that they could come together and create. I want to see that. That's why I love what Obsidian's doing. A group of extremely talented individuals, but you can see it. Josh Sawyer just created Pentiment, a passion project that nobody would ever fund if he wasn't underneath the Xbox umbrella, even though he's considered one of the top producers as far as running a team, right? As a dev, he had this idea forever, and he finally created it, and it's gorgeous. Again, it's not a game for everybody, but it's something that he loved to do, but it's really different than anything he's done before. Grounded, same damn thing. I love seeing experimentation within teams. Even a team that is solely formed to work on one franchise, I can guarantee you those people, as friends, as co-workers, have bantered, talked about, come up with crazy ideas at dinners for movies, or for games, I should say, that aren't Gears. I'd love to see one of those come through and see what they do with it. So I am disappointed as well. I really wanted to see what they were working on outside of Gears, even if it was a small project. I don't care. I just wanted to see what it was going to be. As far as Gears 6 go, everybody already knows me. I'm the original trilogy lover. 4 and 5 were good games. Nothing special. Nothing outrageous for me. I hate the whiny kids. Just me. For those that love 4 and 5, I'm not hating on you for loving 4 and 5. You can love 4 and 5 all you want. I understand a lot of people do. That's cool. I love the Gears franchise. Always have. It will always have a special place. It's just not the same Gears for me with 4 and 5. 1 through 3 were incredible. Now, Hivebusters captured some of that original trilogy, which excites me now. Because maybe this time off, I don't know how they're going to end this trilogy. I don't know what they're going to do with Kat and the rest of them. Kate and the rest of them, but whatever they decide to do, maybe they take some of what they heard from the community feedback on Hivebusters, how many people were loving it, how many people loved the darker kind of tone to it that brought some imagery back from the original trilogy. Maybe they go out with a bang with number 6. Maybe they absolutely nail this out of the park with number 6, where both new and old Gears fans both find something to love about it. Obviously, the multiplayer, love or hate Gears. I'm an old school Gears player. I played a lot of multiplayer back in the day. I never dove back into it the same way I did when it originally came out. I understand why it frustrates people. It's the same reason why people get frustrated with Halo multiplayer. It can get sweaty. And the people who still play it, you're jumping yourself into a bee's nest, okay? If you don't know how to wall bounce and shoddy, it's going to be frustrating for you. They tried to balance that out a little bit. They tried some new stuff. The core community did not like a lot of it, but as Steel will tell you, that original Gears multiplayer is still there, and if you don't know it, you're going to have a hard time getting into it. But maybe they can find a new way to reinvigorate the multiplayer as well. I'm excited to see what Coalition does with Gear 6. Now that we know it's in full swing, at least according to Grub, again, we don't know anything officially until they come out and announce it. But if that's the case, if they are in full swing with Gear 6, I hope they end this trilogy right. And then it gets interesting, Matt, because that will end 2 trilogies, as we're assuming. Again, who knows what they do. Maybe they say it's not a trilogy anymore. We're just going to continue on. But what does Coalition do then? Where do they go with Gears? As we were just talking about Halo and that universe. Gears universe has been expanded through books. Gears universe has a ton of freaking lore that is really cool. We just saw it with Hivebusters. Like, again, there's a whole lot to be explored. Does Coalition go away from the main line and maybe come up with something new? All of that excites me. I can't wait. Gears is one of my favorite franchises just because of the original trilogy. So I can't wait for it to, whatever they're doing right now. I'm excited, man. Yeah. I'm excited. And the fact that now that we kind of talk through this, Mav, and you're right, we potentially could see this 2025 with an announcement in 2024. That'd be pretty damn cool. I'd be looking forward to that. That'd be something sweet.
Yeah, if they're in full production, I wouldn't be surprised if we got an announcement this year.
Possible. Maybe they surprise us. Maybe if they go away from the 12-month rule that they created last year or whatever the case, maybe they show us that. Maybe they give us a teaser. Yeah. Even with the we saw, what supposedly are the fake, but who knows? Maybe we get the Chief or maybe we get the Marcus Phoenix collection in between too. So I'm happy. I'm sad because I want to see the new IP. I got kind of excited when Grub, had made mention that maybe we see it in 2024. I was kind of really looking forward to it, but it's fine. Gears 6 will be good. I can't wait.
Yeah. So. Other aspect to this that real quick is it'd been one thing when they acquired like ZeniMax, Bethesda, and they acquired all these other studios and stuff, and now they're working at ABK. One of the most exciting things is about the possibilities of teams working on different things, right?
Yes.
And I still want to see that. Like, I would love to see like crossovers and stuff. Like, it's got so many IPs and they got so much talent. And then not everything has to be an existing franchise or whatever.
Right.
But I would love different takes on these things. Like, let's say it made a Halo thing, or let's say Coalition made something like completely different, right? One day from one of these other studios, a spin-off type game or whatever. There's so much potential there that I feel like there's a lot of decisions that go in behind this stuff. Where obviously what gets made, what doesn't. But I hope that they have the right people in place at Xbox to make the decisions to greenlight the right projects and see them through.
Yes.
Right? Yes. Or maybe make suggestions or maybe like because we talked about with the Halo, put out there to everybody out there, who wants to work on a Halo game, right? Like just see who would like to make one. Like if they're not doing that kind of stuff with their IP, it's a mistake, right?
Right.
You could do it with Gears too. You could do it with Halo. You could do it with IPs from Bethesda, ZeniMax. Like you could do it from a lot of different of these games, and it just like here's your stable, right?
Right.
We got the stable of IP that's legendary and classic, right?
Yep.
If you want to make something or you got an idea for a game, let us know.
Right.
Get a team, put something together, pitch it. We'll see. And I hope that stuff's taking place. I don't know the ins and outs of this stuff, but I would hope that stuff happens. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And maybe it does, but it seems like the unfortunate thing with Coalition is that two of those might have just died.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Whether it's from another franchise or whatever, two ideas that were passion projects could have just died, right?
Right.
So that's the saddest thing for me. We just got a huge success with one in Hi-Fi Rush and found out how awesome that is, and then we just found out two other passion projects got killed. You know, would they have been successful? Who knows? Maybe they weren't turning out to be what they had hoped. Maybe Coalition decided that they're not what they had hoped, right? Who knows? We don't know everything behind this stuff, right? So we can only speculate.
Yeah. I mean, that's all it ever is. But again, Microsoft has seen success already from those type of projects with Grounded.
Yep.
Right. Grounded started out as a passion project. Now look at it. Right. So Microsoft just recently saw the success of Shadow dropping Hi-Fi Rush into Game Pass. Right. And again, a game that harkens back to the Dreamcast era, for God's sakes, in all ways, shapes, and forms. And look at the success. Microsoft, out of all the companies, has seen the success of allowing teams to do this.
Yeah.
And that's, again, why you see a Pentiment. Again, might not be the biggest game, but it was critically acclaimed. People pick it up, try it. Some people really love it, right? It's up for Game of the Year in certain places, right? So Microsoft now sees a path forward, and you're right, Mav, with all the IP that they have, and some of them being very big, like Gears, Halo. Why not? Why not let some other people, some other teams explore it? Why not? I don't see the reason behind not doing it. And just see what comes up with.
I've never really been that guy that likes that one studio just makes one franchise and that's it. You know, just like I mean, like Naughty Dog.
I don't want anybody. Yeah, I mean, Bethesda's pretty locked in.
No, but
we saw Obsidian. Obsidian made the best Fallout game to a lot of people.
But even still, then what I mean is like Obsidian. Or I mean, Bethesda, they don't just make Fallout. They make Fallout, they make Elder Scrolls, they make Starfield. They mix it up, right?
Yeah.
They don't, like, 343 could do more than just Halo, right?
Yeah.
Coalition could do more than just Gears. Right. Insomniac make Spider-Man, but they didn't just do Spider-Man. They're also making Wolverine now, and they also had all these other games, right? Like
Ratchet and Clank,
Naughty Dog, like Last of Us, Uncharted, now a new space game, whatever.
Yep.
Right? Like, just because you have a success with something, right, and it works, or you feel like you need a team to develop this franchise, doesn't mean that's like all they should ever do. You know what I mean? And that's what caused Microsoft problems before with Bungie, right? They wanted to do more than that. You know, like, hey, let's let these
they wanted to do Destiny.
Yeah,
Destiny could have been an Xbox freaking game.
Let's let creators, you know, be creative here a little bit. Yeah. You know what I mean? I feel like they, you know, certain like Bethesda gets it. You know what I mean? Obviously. Yeah. Hopefully the Xbox does too. I have hope for that. But you know, you don't really see. I mean, there's some studios out there that only make one franchise. You know, but I don't think it has to be that way for Xbox with these teams.
I agree wholeheartedly. Speaking of what, Mav, you brought up the Naughty Dog sci-fi supposed game from Neil Druckmann. Did you already hear? It's going to be the Starfield killer already.
Oh, is it? Nah,
yeah.
Who said that? Game Rant? Was it another Game Rant article?
No. There was some Twitter. There was a couple Twitter posts that came through. People already going, "Oh, it's going to be the Starfield."
That'll be next week's Game Rant article. Then, probably. It's the killer.
What if they'll say if Druckmann has to justify making this game once it's announced? I wonder if they'll come up with.
Sony spent like 15 years trying to make a Halo killer, right? And they gave up, and eventually, what killed Halo was itself.
Right.
Yeah, that I feel like Sony is gonna make a great games, and Microsoft's gonna make their great games. The whole aspect of like killers anymore is like so
dumb.
I really like Call of Duty is the Halo killer, and you know, and then this is that killer. Battlefield is gonna kill this, whatever. Man, there's so many great games out there to play, and I feel like sometimes that used to be the motivations for some of these companies to try and create stuff, and move away from stuff. But I hope that the creatives are the ones that make the decisions on what they want to make. Yep. That's going to give us the best stuff.
You are factually correct, sir. 100%. I'd give everybody freedom. I know you got to have some control, but man,
Yeah,
I'd give
you gotta have
everybody
some
freedom.
control. You gotta make sure
Yeah.
that some of these big franchises still exist. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And you can't just let them
Yes.
die or whatever.
Right.
But like, um, there's certain aspects to that. Like, if they don't ever make another Uncharted game again, that's a mistake.
Yes.
You know, like,
Hmm.
but if Naughty Dog doesn't want to make it anymore, that's fine.
Right.
You
That's fine.
figure out, see what else somebody could do with it. Maybe they got a different take on it, and if they
Yep.
don't succeed, let it maybe say, well, let's form up another team at Naughty Dog
Yep.
or something. Hey, who
Yep.
knows? Like, I feel like there's always avenues out there. Um, but
Just look. If Microsoft hadn't done that, we wouldn't have Gears Judgment. I mean, my God.
yeah, I actually liked Gears Judgment.
I liked portions of Gears
Yeah,
Judgment too. I'm not as hard on it as most people are.
yeah.
So
I mean, it wasn't like a epic Gears at the
no,
time, right? But
no.
it was fun. I had fun with
Yeah, it
it.
was another experience. It
Not
was.
everything has to be the end all be all.
Right.
Is the
Nope, I
world
agree.
better with Judgment or without?
I don't think it really matters either.
I don't think so either. So just play the game if you like it. You like
Yeah,
it.
just play the game if you like it. That's exactly right. Man, we got a bunch of smaller stuff. We've been going for 3 hours. You're coughing fits. What do you got anything else you want to talk about? What do you want to do?
If we got anything else interesting, throw it out there.
Let's see what else. Wild Hearts will be having Wild Hearts, that new
10-hour trial, yeah.
that new game from EA and Koei Tecmo, which is the Monster Hunter like game, is going to have a demo. We are going to get a free 10-hour trial if you are a Game Pass Ultimate subscriber, obviously a part of the EA Play subscription. So that is good news. I was wondering about that. I wasn't actually planning on having a 10-hour trial, but that was great news.
Yeah.
Because I do want to try that game out. It does look pretty cool.
Yeah, it's one I wouldn't buy, but I will try.
Yeah.
And then if I like it, then get it.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, if it's really sweet, then yes, it'll go on my list. But man, time right now is going to be crazy. We got confirmation. EA, man, they're doing better, Matt. They're doing better. Zampella has shown them the light, but we got word today they canceled the mobile versions of Battlefield and Apex, correct?
I think that's what it was.
Okay. So canceled those, but then word came out today that Respawn, and we had heard about this a long time ago.
Oh, yeah, the Titanfall single player.
Yeah, the Titanfall single player experience that they were creating got also canceled today. So, or has been canceled within the past month. That sucks, man.
Yeah.
I was looking forward to, again, everybody, I personally love the Titanfall multiplayer. Okay, I was a huge Titanfall fan. Hundreds of hours into Titanfall multiplayer, 100%. Titanfall 2's campaign is one of the best first-person campaigns ever created in the history of video games. To know that Respawn was going back and doing another single-player type of experience of that, I think it was called Titanfall Legends. Either was the name or the code name, one of the two. To know that was in the works, that we were going to get some more Titanfall. EA knows that the fans are clamoring for Titanfall. I understand Apex is in the same universe. I understand that Apex is gigantic for EA. I understand that Respawn is doing a lot of work for you right now, obviously with Jedi Survivor and that franchise as well. But my God, would you let Respawn go back and do another freaking Titanfall, please? It has a space in this day and age. Titanfall mech combat, there's not a whole lot of it. You can find your mech games, but mech games done right, like Titanfall, are few and far between. It has a space. I wish they would allow them to do it, but the fact that they canceled the single player project doesn't give me a whole lot of hope, Mav. What do you think? No hope.
No hope.
Back. They're never gonna go back, are they?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like maybe one day. I kind of feel like there's a lot of projects that kind of got greenlit when everybody was like in this boom the last few years, and now it's like companies like, oh, maybe we overshot ourselves a little bit. We need to tighten our bootstraps, tighten our wallets just a little bit here. And there's certain things that are kind of getting really getting let down by some aspects of this, like the coalition things, right? But now there's this as well. Um, I Titanfall is for me the most underappreciated shooter franchise, maybe video game franchise over the
Yeah.
last decade.
Correct.
It was just supremely well made. I mean, you
Yes.
talk about
Yes.
gameplay,
Yep.
amazing, like
Yep.
so good. Had no right to be as good as it did. Didn't ever take off to the masses, right? It took a free to play shooter, right?
Yep.
In Apex Legends, without even the Titanfall name in it, but still part of the same universe, to really bring attention to that brand, and people just knowing it's tied in somehow, or whatever,
Right.
right? And then what we saw after Apex Legends, there was a resurgence in Titanfall 2 players for a while,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, Titanfall 3, I feel like would be massive.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they would have finally reached this place now because of the popularity with Apex that it's brought in, that they would have this new mass attention to the game that they never had before when it was a newer IP. First one, Xbox exclusive. Second one had that campaign everybody talked about, but still people were still unfamiliar with it. And it launched at the same time as other big games as well, Call of Duties and Battlefields and stuff like that. I feel like this would be a big hit if they did a Titanfall 3.
Yep.
I gotta have hope
Yep.
out there somewhere that Vince Zampella will convince everybody to say, let us do it. Right. But he's also responsible for trying to bring back Battlefield. So we'll see.
Yes, he is. He is. He's got a lot on his plate. In another universe, by the way, Mav, another universe, Respawn is also owned by Xbox at this point. And Zampella is a part of Xbox.
Yeah.
Back when Titanfall was exclusive, they had a chance before Respawn joined EA's indie development, and then eventually EA bought them right before Titanfall 2.
Do you ever wonder, like, what it'd be like if just like Xbox just spent all their money on bringing in people?
Yes.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
outside people to be in charge of these studios, like big time people, right?
Big time people,
like, bring in like Vince Zampella, let him be your Matt Booty, right?
Yep.
Another one. Hey, you operate these 20 developers. We'll let Matt run these 20. You put Matt over like ABKs or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, then you have Zampella over all these or whatever. Or you just say, hey, these are your 3 studios. Do whatever the hell with what you want, right? Like Vince Zampella, you bring in other people like that. Man, like,
I know
you still another Drunkman away from Sony, right? Like,
right.
I mean, they did kind of move with like Drew Murray and Daryl Gallagher.
Yeah, they did. They
right?
did with the initiative, and it didn't work out.
But Drew Murray like left, you know. So, but I feel like if they did it right, just bring in like that as a company for me.
Yep.
Like I got this big wallet and stuff out there you can spend. The true sauce that makes the games as good as they are is these people.
Correct.
That make these games and these visionaries, right?
Corey, I mean, you know all the big names, right? Barlog, Druckmann, Zampella.
Yeah, and there's a lot of
Xbox
people that
got a lot.
There's a lot of people that make these games, and the developers themselves get, and those guys get a lot of the credit, right? But it does stem from these guys a lot of times. These
but Xbox has acquired a lot of them.
Like Jade Raymond, go out get Jade Raymond.
Oh God, I wanted Haven Studios so bad, bro.
Like now the Xbox has done that, like you said. They brought in Tim Schafer. Tim Schafer is there. Todd Howard is there.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, you have freaking id and some of the legends, but back with them now. And
you got Josh Sawyer. Josh Sawyer is freaking amazing.
Yeah, Obsidian. Now you got Shinji Mikami, Tango. You know what I mean? Like,
they brought in a lot of big names.
They have a lot of titans in the industry. But like, so I just like wonder like, that would be the biggest X Factor move, is just to target these people, right?
David Jaffe has been preaching that nonstop.
Has he?
He like when he talks about, because he he likes Phil, but he doesn't believe he's the ultimate leader that you need in that position. And same Booty, he doesn't really have a lot of nice things to say about, but he's put that out there like on his show all the time when he talks about this. He's like, Phil, call me. I will give you a list of people that you can go bring in right now that will know exactly how to do what you guys need to do. Like, he constantly preaches that nonstop. Like, it's like literally that same type of thought process, because you're right, Mav. If you get that central figure over, let's say, 2-3 teams like you seen Zampella do, but a lot of the times Zampella fell into EA's lap. Nobody knew that Zampella could pull off what he's been doing, right? Nobody knew it until he actually did it. Sure, we saw signs with Titanfall, but Titanfall 2, again, not a commercial success. No matter what we want to say about it, wasn't. For a lot of reasons, EA did a terrible job marketing it, put it up against Call of Duty and Battlefield at the same time. Like, so many different problems. But then Zampella went on to, convince EA to do single player games again with Jedi Fallen Order. Turn that.
I never
into
saw
a big
that
franchise.
one coming. Right?
No, never saw that one coming. Of course, Apex, right? Of course, Apex. Zampella earned that over time. But yeah, you're right. It would be kind of crazy with the money that Xbox could throw at some people to go out there and just buy free agents, like individuals, to run studios. It'd be crazy, man. Yeah, it would be.
Do it. Let's go.
Let's go. Let's just do it.
That would be the real battle. That would be the real console wars, the fight over that the core talent. I mean,
right.
Those names, right?
Yes.
That would be insane.
It would be insane. We got more details from Resident Evil 4 remake, Mav, which I know tons of people are looking forward to. I'm looking forward to it. Multiple new enemies, side quests added, no QTEs, can carry multiple knives, new crossbow weapon. Game Informer played several hours, says much more faithful remake than both 2 and 3. Some scenes are 1 for 1. Game Informer had a glowing preview for Resident Evil 4, looking phenomenal. Love what I'm hearing there as far as no QTEs, side quests added, but also that some scenes are 1 for 1. Really has me hyped for Resident Evil 4. So I'm looking forward to that one for sure. I think it's going to be a blast, man.
Yeah, sure will be.
We also got the Crew Motorfest. That's right, all you Crew fans out there. Yes, sir. We got a teaser trailer this week. Ubisoft back at it. Looks like the Crew is kind of taking on Forza Horizon. The teaser trailer had a lot of Forza Horizon to it. It is going to be set in Hawaii on the island of Oahu. Again, it's not the Crew 3. They took out the number. They are calling it the Crew Motorfest. It's going to be an open world inspired by the Hawaiian island of Oahu. Coming to Xbox One Series consoles, PlayStation 4, and 5, Luna, in 2023. So, Matt, what did you think about the teaser trailer from the Crew Motorfest, man?
Yeah, looks pretty cool. I'm not a big Crew fan, I found the driving mechanics not as good as some other racers out there. I hope that's improved. I won't be able to tell that until I actually get my hands on a controller. The thing with racing games, right? It completely depends on the feel of the car when you're racing the game, whether it's fun or not. The Crew has been cool in the past, but I hope this is a hit for Ubisoft. They really need one. It gives me Test Drive Unlimited vibes, right, with Oahu, going to that setting, because that's where that was set. So
Test Drive Unlimited was so good, bro.
It was amazing. We're supposed to get another one this year, Solar Crown.
Yes.
So we'll see.
That's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, that's Nacon making that one.
Yes.
Like the thing about Test Drive, like they did, like sometimes the cars didn't feel the best, but like the world was so cool on it, like, and there was so much variety with the stuff they did with their MMO aspects of the game that really brought it to life, and they were kind of that first car PG, and I feel like I remember when the Crew was made, it wasn't like former devs from like Test Drive or whatever, right? And they just didn't recapture that magic. and now it's going to be Oahu is crazy.
Yep.
So we'll see. Maybe they're able to recapture that magic with this game, and we'll see what Solo Crown does. I'm interested in both of those games though, so we'll see what happens this year. Then probably later this year. Did they say?
It said 2023. I think it was September. I want to say. I think originally we heard potentially they're targeting September.
Yeah.
They also said it could roll into early 2024.
This year's just insane.
It is.
Still.
It's freaking bro. The games are just dropping out of nowhere. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'd love for them to bring back the test drive though, where you could go shopping. I know Caitlin loved that as well, where you could buy your houses, but you could get out of your car and go into a store and shop for your clothes for your dude and all that.
Yeah, that was in the second one, I think.
Yeah, it was an unlimited too.
You could get out of your car in unlimited.
Yes.
Because
you could pull up to the shops. I remember being able to pull up.
Oh yeah, but you didn't walk around freely.
No, you didn't walk
right,
around. No. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you actually pull up.
I remember that.
Did they have brands? Didn't they have actual brands?
Yeah,
too,
I think so.
Yeah. So that was pretty damn.
Yeah,
cool.
with Solo Crown, there's gonna be like a whole casino and everything.
Yes. Oh my god, that's gonna be so freaking cool. Night driving, baby. We're doing night racing, Mav. It's gonna be fun. What else we got? We got anything else? Hey, it looks like potentially, Embracer was doing exactly what we said they were doing, Mav, just not in the way potentially that we thought. But when they purchased Eidos Montreal and of course Crystal Dynamics and bought all that IP for $300 million in dev teams, and we were like, $300 million? What? Square Enix, what are you freaking doing? And we said Embracer might be flipping these. And of course, we've been on the train that potentially they were holding them for Xbox until the ABK deal's done and they cut a deal with Xbox. Well, rumor has it, we don't have official confirmation, but rumor has it that Amazon has supposedly bought the rights to the Tomb Raider IP. Just the Tomb Raider IP. Not Crystal Dynamics, not Eidos Montreal, not any of the other P. Just the Tomb Raider IP, and has supposedly paid a price of $600 million. Doubling their investment with one single IP, man. Unbelievable, if this is true.
This makes Square
Enix
look stupid. Yeah. I mean, how are you gonna let? We thought it was way too low based on the IP to begin with. Right?
Yeah.
It seems like Amazon's invested in that IP now, right? And we talked. There was like an announcement before about an Amazon published game going to consoles, and I was like, that's different, right?
Yeah, because they announced Amazon was producing the Tomb Raider for publishing.
Right. Well, this was before that. There was another game.
Yeah, that was before that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I was like, that's different. That opens up another world of possibilities. And people are like, it's not the big deal. Then right after that, we had the Tomb Raider thing. Like,
correct.
This is a big deal.
Okay.
See, Amazon's into the console market game publishing side now, not just worried about Luna. Right.
Right.
So, which is a good thing, in my opinion, because if they are making acquisitions and doing things like this, you want it to be more than just to support the Luna device, right? And the cloud and their cloud.
One of the biggest worries.
Right. That was the biggest worry.
Locked to that system.
Ooh, God. So, but they have some people with Amazon that are talented, right? That are passionate about gaming and stuff, right? And maybe they've convinced Amazon this is the way to go, right?
Mm-hmm.
To the tune now of actually buying this IP. So I anticipate the good aspect of this is, as well as, transmedia, all that stuff, right? You got, you can do movies, you can do shows, all this stuff. Amazon makes great content with a lot of their movies and shows. Some of their Clancy stuff on Amazon Prime is absolutely incredible. Lots of good stuff to watch, but I have hope for that aspect of it. But also just that they do right by the brand, hopefully, and with the game as well with Embracer Group. But we'll see what that means for Crystal Dynamics' future as well. Do they end up an Amazon studio, right, in the long term? Because now they're separated from the IP,
which is
right.
Yeah, which is
they ain't getting that back from Amazon.
No,
if Embracer Group sold them to somebody, then maybe they let the IP go with them. But now that ain't happening. So Crystal D, whatever came to Xbox, it would be without Tomb Raider.
Correct.
Which is maybe why Amazon bought that. I don't know. It's interesting, man.
Yeah, it is.
Chess
Again, we always got to
moves.
keep one eye on Amazon, baby. Got to always keep one eye. Just like
Calorie
Tencent.
says they didn't sell the rights; they leased them. He believes. So we'll see. I don't know.
Okay, we're gonna see. I haven't seen the official word. I haven't seen any announcement from Amazon or anything yet. So again, this is all just floating stuff around,
Yeah.
obviously. So, speaking of ABK, man, I have a couple quick updates on ABK. We don't have to dive into these. We knew that Xbox, Microsoft had subpoenaed Sony. Sony has asked for another delay. This will be the third delay they've asked for till February 15th because the FTC has also subpoenaed Sony as well. NVIDIA has officially jumped into the ABK deal on the side of Sony as one of the main detractors from this. I believe personally, this is my opinion, it's payback because Microsoft was one of the main players that stopped NVIDIA from getting the ARM deal. The chip maker. So I think this is NVIDIA's way of getting back at Microsoft, but they have officially jumped in as well. Supposedly, the CMA's list of objections are now in the hands of Microsoft. Again, we kind of assumed a while ago because of how much other stuff had gone public that the EC or the EU, whichever you want to go with, the EC and the CMA's objections would be made public. We found out that those will not be made public at all. But those are now, the CMA portion is supposedly been sent to Microsoft. Now Microsoft is waiting on the EC, and then they're going to give remedies to both of them at the same time to hopefully clear it up. So it feels like, Mav, it feels like in the next couple months here, we're finally going to have maybe potentially a solid footing of which way this is going to go. Because obviously if the EC and the CMA both block it, there's a chance that this deal falls apart, unless there's some other way that Microsoft can see a way through. If one of them blocks it, things might still get dicey, but it looks like at least on this side, we'll get that coming up here in the next couple months. We'll know, how it's looking, at least if it's good or if it's bad. And we also had the FTC lose its sixth straight straight battle.
This is
Six
against
straight.
Meta, right?
Yeah, against Meta, against Facebook. They lost their sixth straight court case, and the attorneys that were representing Meta in that case are the same attorneys that Microsoft is using as well as their own in-house team. So not a good look for the FTC once again, because again, they're not following the guidelines. They're not following the laws. They're trying to create their own. And the courts, when it gets that far, are saying, no, what are you guys doing? You can't do this. This is not right. So, Mav, any thoughts on any of that stuff?
Still think it's closing.
Yep.
I haven't seen anything otherwise. I think this interesting things about these Sony documents and stuff, and I feel like there's negotiations going on behind the scenes. Is one of the reasons these keeps getting delayed, right? So we'll see what those negotiations, if they're happening, ever amount to.
Yes, I'm sure. I'm sure we'll hear at some point about them and exactly what they have to give. But the big thing is just, again, the EC and the CMA decisions are going to go a long ways in deciding what happens here.
For sure.
Because if the EC and CMA accept remedies from Microsoft, even if they're extreme, and again, if you are an Xbox fanboy or fangirl and you've been thinking this whole time that Microsoft doesn't have to give up anything, prepare yourself. Microsoft, I think, is willing to give up a whole lot when it comes to this stuff. But if they both accept those remedies, then obviously the FTC's footing is not going to be solid at all. It's going to be, well, it's already not solid. But they are certain for defeat here, and Microsoft will go all out if the EC and the CMA both approve. The FTC's in for a big giant battle at the end of the day, and they might be forced to accept some remedies as well, and just get this thing done to not embarrass themselves for a seventh time in front of a federal judge. So yeah, we should be getting that cleared up. Mav, I think we've got it all.
We ran through the gamut.
I think we did. Go watch the Atomic Heart. If you guys are excited for Atomic Heart like me and Mav are, go watch the 8 minutes of video they just put out. Man, they put out a new trailer. Freaking phenomenal. This game, again, there's still some people out here saying I don't believe this game. I think that I can't. Listen, I'm freaking through the roof for this game. This game is looking amazing. I don't care if you want to say it's not BioShock. Like I saw some articles say it's not BioShock. I think somebody had a preview of it, got to play it, said it's not BioShock. I don't care what this thing is. I want to play it. I want to play a lot of it. It looks phenomenal. Would you agree, Mav?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It looks great. Look forward to it. It's in Game Pass day one. No excuse not to try it. Right?
Yes, 100%. You got a visitor.
Hi, baby.
Great show, Mav. Chat again. Thank you all for joining us. And if you're joining us down the road in the future, listening to us on your favorite podcast site, thank you. Thank you all for being a part of this episode of PM in the PM. Pong and Mav in the PM, back on another Thursday, like we will be next week as well. So thank you all for joining us. So Mav, tell everybody what you got coming up, sir.
We got stuff coming up tomorrow night. Xbox Ultimate Podcast, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Monday, Fun Speculation Podcast, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Back here on Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Game streams. You can expect some more Age of Empires 2 for sure.
Yes.
Midnight Suns and all that. But appreciate you all. Got another day of probably sitting around here. So we'll see. Looking forward to world turning back to normal next week. That's for sure.
Yes, you definitely have cabin fever. You definitely do. Yeah, strategy. I can't believe we're talking all these strategy games on our consoles, Mav. It's so incredible. But it's just amazing, bro.
Yeah.
The fact that you could say you're streaming Midnight Suns and Age of Empires 2 is just insane. Listen, everybody, you know the drill here. Pong Soul on Xbox, Pong Soul on Twitter, all that good stuff. Tomorrow night, Xbox Ultimate, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time. Right back here again for that. We're going to have a great show, as always. And then, of course, Saturday mornings, it's Living Split Screen with myself, my brother from another Steel Rain, 3+ hours, 4+ if we don't have anything going on, which we normally don't. Be there. Tell a friend, bring a friend, because we are on mission 1K, still trying to inch our way towards that 1K and then onwards to 3K. So again, Living Split Screen every Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time, 3 p.m. UK time. You know, Steel and I are going to have a lot to talk about this week because, as you can see, a lot of topics in there. And then, of course, Saturday night, it's the Shop Podcast, PTK Blam's channel. PTK Blam is the man. Fuzzy Belvedere is also the man, and the brother from another. He comes along, and so do I. And then we usually have a guest. PTK has not announced a guest for this week as of yet. Last week was Steel Rain, which was surprising, but we had a great time. So be there Saturday night, the Shop Podcast, PTK Blam's channel, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 o'clock Central Time. And then, of course, it starts next week again, Xbox Factor Podcast, whether I'm there or not. Mr. Boomstick, Double Barrel Gaming, every Tuesday afternoon, 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time. All good things green on the Xbox Factor Podcast. And then back at it right here, Thursday night, PM in the PM, Pong and Mav in the PM. And we will see you then. It is the golden age of gaming, people. Get out there and enjoy it. Go try some Age of Empires 2, even if you don't like RTSs. Please, you might find out that you love it. It's in Game Pass. Enjoy it. Otherwise, play what you love. Love what you play. Have a great Friday. Have a wonderful weekend. And we'll talk to you all real soon, Mav. Get us out of here, brother.
Peace out, everyone. Later.